All of you. Welcome to today's meeting on System Audit, a masterclass on information technology, general control review for internal financial controls as per Companies Act 2013 and the audit trail requirements. We have with us CA Deepika Madam and also our Secretary CA Arun sir. We welcome both of you to today's meeting. Uh, Before we start the session, let us all give respect for a CA motor song, ICA motor song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रदमम् तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यकश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता
Thank you. We have with us Secretary Ayampalayam Venkateshan Arun sir. He has got an important announcement to be made.
Hello, sir. Good evening, all. As you all know that we have a conclave on 24th and 25th at the DG Vaishnava College. So our chairman, in order to have the good participation and reach of people, there is an if you have a group registration, and the registration fees is reduced to 2,000 rupees, and 5 members 1,500 inclusive GST. I request all the members to register and participate and get the benefit of that MSME conclave. So I have a session to Raghuman to introduce the speaker and start the session.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Please, members, please do register for MSME conclave being held on 24th and 25th of this month at DG Vaishnav College, Arambakam, Chennai. Please register and also inform your partners and students to register. Let's move to today's session. As said earlier, we have with us Deepika Madam. It's my pleasure to introduce Madam. CA Deepika, handling assignments involving audit analytics, exception reporting, system review, process controls, application review, ERP remediation, information technology, general controls, internal financial controls for banks, NBFCs, and manufacturing companies. The positions held by her are numerous. She is a special invitee to Digital Accounting and Assurance Committee of SIRC of ICAI, and she was the treasurer and the board of governor for Institute of Internal Auditors Madras chapter, and she was the chairperson of Women's Forum of Institute of Internal Auditors Madras chapter. She was an associate director, Information Technology Risk Advisory Practice for CNK and Associates LLP. She has got wide teaching experience as well. She is a faculty with SIRC for Information Technology Training and Advanced Information Technology Training program since 2018. She is a renowned faculty among CA students, and she is also a speaker at various CPE seminars and workshops conducted by Internal Audit Standards Board of ICAI and SIRC of ICAI. She is a regular speaker for trainings and workshops at Institute of Internal Auditors, Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India, and the University of Madras. She is also a guest lecturer at various educational institutions and colleges in topics of data analytics, risk management, blockchain technology, information system, and information technology audits, audit automations. Have conducted faculty development programs for various institutions for training areas in industry, including a recent faculty development program at SIR. this brief. I have great pleasure in presenting before you CAS Deepika to handle today's session on system audit. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Rahman sir. Thank you, Arun sir, for inviting me today, and thanks for that introduction. So, without much delay, we'll go into the session today. So, I don't know if poll is working here, but generally amongst the audience, I want to understand how many of you uh, have already done system audits, and how many are new to system audits. Like you have first time, or you need to evaluate how this IT general controls are to be tested. What is this audit trail? Can an auditor evaluate the configuration of audit trail? So do we? Yes, Praveen. Think he has done. Just to understand the audience mix from where I can start. So by the time we get responses, I'm sharing my screen. So first and primary question before we go into our session, how many of you think as an auditor we need to understand technology which client is using? Is it required for us to know the technology? Let's say they are using some database, softwares, BI tools. Is it important for an auditor to know the technology which the client is using? Let's say the client is in a Tally or SAP or Oracle. There are so many numerous applications, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it is very, very important. Praveen, sir, background of technology. Yes, Shrikant Rao, sir, you are all right. It is very, very important as an auditor that we need to understand technology. Main reasons, apart from the reporting requirements or audit requirement, is uh, your audit risk also depends on the technology which the client is using. Like, for example, let's say the client is not having a robust IT system. He is having some ingrown bespoke system which he itself is managing. Databases handled by one guy. So, whatever screen the management is asking, there's one developer who will develop the screens and send off, like prepare and go live. Okay. If they are having such capabilities, it's good. I'll not say having a in-house development capability is wrong, but if they don't have robust processes in managing the application, okay, if it is done in an haphazard way, managed or controlled by one or two people, not a team of people, they don't have robust processes. Actually, in such scenario, it increases our audit risk, because we don't know the controls in the system. We don't know when who's changing what in the back end, when some code is modified. There is no documentation for that. So some business comes and asks something that they may change and give. Some employee comes and asks something, he may change and give. Management wants to change something, he may change and give. So as an auditor, third party, like we are an independent outside party, we will never be in a position to comment on the integrity of the system, right? So it is very, very essential that the client organization is having a proper ERP, ingrown with good processes, or external, implemented by a good vendor who is understanding the process, configuration, control, and following all the required um, baseline standards. Okay. So it is very, very important that an auditor understands the complexity of the IT environment, mainly to reduce his audit risk, not specifically reporting ITGC, IFC, etc. Generally, in giving opinion on the financial statements itself, it is very, very, very important. Otherwise, there is chance of window dressing, there is chance of any manipulation, there is chance of inflated sales, inflated profits, etc. So apart from that, if we go into further requirements, we have reporting requirement under Companies Act, where we need to report on internal financial controls. Invariably, our finance system is depending on operations or the business. Operations is generating lot of transactions, invoices, accounting entries, etc., which is coming to the finance systems, converting into journal entries, and it is getting populated as a trial balance sheet P&L, which the statutory auditor is auditing, right? So we cannot directly comment on the output of the data without knowing the quality of input that is going inside the system. Okay, all of us would have heard garbage in, garbage out, right? GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So, right, that stands correct for any aspect. The quality of input data is going to determine the integrity of the output data, right? So there also black box testing, white box testing, some nice cliches we would have heard. Whatever we are testing, we should have some documentation for that, and we should have tested that. We cannot restrict to finance system. So again, we'll be seeing that also today, because it was planned to cover audit trail component also in this session. So in audit trail, again, they are talking about accounting system used for maintaining books of accounts. The accounting system used for maintaining books of accounts. So there are two definitions. Accounting system is where you maintain accounts, right? Books of accounts is a definition which is including every system with where transactions relating to finances generated. So invariably, they are using the terms interchangeably, but it means different. So it is essential for an auditor to not just evaluate the financial application, but also the operational applications, right? So like, for example, let's say they are having tally for finance. Okay, it's not sufficient I check only tally. Let's say they have a attendance system, biometric attendance system. Let's say they are having a payroll application. Okay, or let's say it's a software company, they are having timesheet system. If it's a manufacturing company, they are having some inventory module. Okay, it's a logistic company, they are having a separate route management software. So now all these applications also, as an auditor, I should have comfort on what are the data that is being captured, how that is maintained, how that data is converted and moved into my financial accounting package. Okay, so this way it is very, very important for an auditor to understand the system, right? So now we are going to second layer, what type of systems are there in the organization. Okay, broadly I'm covering or representing like this. It is first the executive management. What they are going to do, they are going to have entity level controls. So basically the governance and policy decisions that are going to come from the executive management, right? After that, depending on the business process, like manufacturing, logistics, payroll, purchase, sales, production, inventory, all that are your business processes. So for your business processes, what we'll be using, we'll be actually having applications which are monitoring or used for monitoring these activities, or I'll not say just monitoring, for executing these activities, right? So those are called application controls. So when we talk about the overall IFC perspective, internal financial control over financial reporting, like internal controls over financial reporting or internal financial control, both actually are relevant for all three. Okay, under IFC, when I see entity level controls are also important, application controls are also important, and then general controls are also important. Okay, so application control is where data is getting generated, how it is generated, whether I'm having access control, whether I'm having authorization, approvals, maker, checker, whether there is a validation in the field, whether it is allowing to pass dummy data or wrong data, whether it is doing some validation to process that is the correct data, whether it is allowing to create a purchase invoice without a PO, whether it is allowing to create a sales invoice without a purchase order, without a customer PO. All these are actually controls that need to be inbuilt into the application to ensure that there is financial control inside the product, right? So this also is covered under IFC. Entity level, how type of policies and governance measures are taken, that is also covered under IFC. And next we come about general controls. So general control, it's a small part of IFC. It's not the major part of IFC, but if IT general control fails, all these controls will fail. Okay, Though it is a small part of IFC, it's a very integral part of IFC. So what is general control? General control is the infrastructure in which my applications and my businesses are operating in. Okay. I'll just come back to this slide. We'll take an analogy, okay, of a house. So now you need a place, okay, you need land. In that land, you need foundation. In that foundation, you will start building walls. Then you put the roof, right? You will have process for that, whether you have to have double door or single door, okay, whether you want to have a lawn in front or lawn at back, whether you want a compound wall or you don't want a compound wall, you want electrified fences or you want just a compound wall. Like that, structurally, we'll be designing the house, right? So this structure is your infrastructure, base infrastructure. Okay. On this base infrastructure, you will be developing, okay, more convenience based on the utilities that you put inside the house, like your furnishings, your smart home automation, your electrical things, okay, your TV, AC, smart lock, your cupboards, your furnitures, chairs, all that is going to come under your utilities. Okay. So if we take this analogy, the items which you are having inside the house to have day-to-day running of the house is called as applications, and it is called as application controls. The foundation which you laid, the walls you built, the compound walls you built, okay, the process you did for doing this, like for example, I'll say near my house there is it's an independent house, okay, near my house, the person who built the house had put a basement secret house room, okay, basement secret room. So now to build that, there is a separate process, because everyone should not know there's a secret room built, right? So how before demolishing they are tunneling, okay, creating the structure, then they are doing some level of finishing in that, basement before demolishing the existing structure, then coming back to laying foundation, then they are putting the pillars. So now for every, depending on the item that you want to secure, okay, you will increase the cost of the lock, okay. That is basically depending on the integrity or confidentiality of data you're going to host. You have to have a robust infrastructure wherein it is commensurate with the nature and size of the item you're going to protect, right? So this infrastructure which you're going to have to host your applications inside your business is called as IT general controls. Okay, the foundation that you're going to lay, okay, to host your application is called as application information technology general controls. So what all comes here? Your basic telecom line, okay, operating systems, server architecture, network security, data security. Then you have all this security against hacking, security against intrusion. Okay, how if there is a incident, how I'm going to resolve that incident, all that is going to come under your general controls. Let's say there is a power failure, how I'm going to retrieve from my backup, okay, power backup. If there is a data corruption or some error, data error, how you can retrieve from a backup and restore the data, okay, all those things will come under general controls. Even disaster recovery. So now when I say about power backup and data backup, you may think why power backup is coming under IT general controls. Actually, it is part of IT general controls. Okay. Even fire combustion system is part of IT general controls. Even protection against earthquake is part of IT general controls. Why? Because these are all dependent activities for my IT systems to be hosted. Like for example, let's say there is power failure in a building, and that building is the data center of a bank, okay, and I don't have sufficient controls or power backups. What will happen? I will not be in a position to retrieve anything and any data. I will not be able to serve my customers. Okay, let's say I'm going to do any POS transaction and the system is not able to ping for and get the customer balance, and more than the balance is swiping a card. Is it feasible, or can I have that situation happening? I cannot accommodate this type of error, right? So I need 24/7 power backup, right, for my IT systems to work. So even things like this electricity, fire safety, that is physical security basically. Okay, all this also will come under IT general controls, where these are all dependent activities for your IT systems to work. So as I'll just recall one more statement I told. I told if my general controls fail, my entire IFC will fail. Okay, if my general control fails, my entire IFC will fail. Same thing I'll take. If there is no power and my servers are not up, my data center is not going to up, my server is not going to work. Can my application work? No. Can my policy be implemented? No. Right? If let's say there is a logical access security, okay, there is some error in user login. If I log in, I'm getting some error, and there is disruption for 1 hour, and nobody is able to log into the system. So that many invoices cannot be raised, that many entries that each one would have done is not being processed, then application controls fail and entity level controls fail. So IFC will fail. You understand? So it will be like it's an integrated exercise. Okay, IFC is an integrated exercise where I need to evaluate general controls, I need to evaluate application controls, I need to evaluate entity level controls. So when we do IFC, we split this application controls. What we'll do business process wise. I think all of us would have that experience where we'll write record to report for finance. Okay, production process. Then we may have for sales, order to cash, procure to pay, hire to retire, fixed asset cycle, financial closure process. Okay, financial reporting and accounts closure process. So like this, we will be having different processes where we are having risk control matrix built, where we are identifying what all risks are there, whether it's application control, whether it's a manual control, whether it's a process risk, whether it's a preventive control, directive control, corrective control, all that we are going to write in our risk control matrix, and we are going to evaluate IFC. But if we are not evaluating the IT general controls and only depending on R2R, P2P, or O2C and all, then again audit risk is increased. Okay, so it is very essential that we need to evaluate IT general controls before we do any application controls. Okay, that's the first thing we do. So first we do ELC to understand what type of policies they have, what type of SOPs they have, what type of systems they have, etc. Second, we'll go for IT general controls. We'll check the systems, system capabilities, architecture, downtime. After that, we'll go for application controls. Basically, we'll go for each process: procure to pay, order to cash, hire to retire, like that for each area. So the cycle will be for IFC, first entity level controls, second IT general controls, and third will be application controls. Okay, so I am going little slow because we are having 3 hours time, and I thought we'll cover from basics. I hope this pace of teaching is fine. If any feedback, you can put a message. If anything you want to repeat also, you can put a message. And someone has asked whether we can share the PPT. Yes, the PPT as well as the recording will be shared if I'm not wrong. This session is recorded if I'm not wrong. Okay. So yes. Any questions so far, or any suggestions on the pace of teaching or something? Nothing? Okay, I will resume. So now let's take this. I'm going for next level. What type of implementation I'm having in my organization? See, why this is important, why this part is important before we go for ITGC. So I told no, entity level controls we need to see first. Okay, we need to see for entity level controls first, then IT general controls. When I do entity level controls, I will do this. See, first point I have written here is system planning. Okay, it's called system planning Then I have operating style. I have enterprise policies. See, these three are very, very, very critical. Okay. These three are very, very, very critical. I'll say why. See, because depending on the type of system I'm planning or depending on the operations I'm planning, my entire test procedures will change. Okay. Let's say I am having SAP implemented. Any infrastructure control or interface control? But yes, sir. Yes, Jatin, but it is very, very much inside scope of IFC where we need to evaluate infrastructure controls and APIs. Basically, interface control is two applications are connecting. Okay, let's say I'm saying from my attendance system, data is taken and it's going to payroll system. It is my responsibility to evaluate the connection or interface between my attendance system and payroll system. Like I'll give an example. Let's say payroll is run for 1,000 employees. Okay. But your attendance system or the biometric system is having fingerprints for a day. Okay. You have taken sample day for only 700 employees. Okay. Then the interface means it's not working correctly. Okay. It means you are having employees who are not coming to office. So are there ghost employees, or is the nature of business such that they cannot come to employees? Or if the nature of business is such that they cannot come to employees, why I'm having a biometric system? I should have something GPS based attendance system, right? So in reconciliation between multiple systems where data sharing is happening is also an important part. Apart from that, evaluating directly the interfaces is also part of IFC. I'll say it is part of IT general controls itself. Okay. So that is also very, very important, like whether the interface is encrypted. If you notice the PNB, not PNB fraud. Yes, PNB fraud. The PNB fraud, which was identified, the entire fraud has happened because the processes or systems in the bank was not integrated. Okay, and no auditor has seen the interface. Like what had happened is they had, let's say they have a CBS. From the CBS, they are raising some letter of undertakings and they are processing some transaction. Someone is coming and approving the transaction without a security. Okay, till here it is in the finance system or your core banking system. From here it is next level going to SWIFT system. SWIFT was the international payment gateway for international trade. Basically, whenever I want to transfer money across different countries, I need to use SWIFT as the payment gateway. Like how in India we have RuPay. Okay, in America we have this American Express. We have different payment gateways, right? So like that, we are having SWIFT for international money settlement. So the whole thing was, from the CBS, the transaction that went to SWIFT was not integrated. Okay, someone was manually downloading data from CBS and uploading to SWIFT. So what these guys have done is they have actually manipulated to include records which did not have security, which could not be processed in CBS to SWIFT system to settle that money. So without reconciliation between these two systems, one set of transaction has been processed, okay, in a silos. Oh. So this way, only the pooling account was showing outstanding unreconciled balances. So end of the day, when they quantified fraud, they have quantified based on only the pooling account difference traced to this particular account, okay, and not directly balance in Nirav Modi's account, right? So after this PNB fraud, the expectation of the auditor to evaluate interfaces has become enormous. Okay, so and I think that is the one of the high risk area which auditor should cover. So interfaces are also very important part of IFC. Okay, so yeah, I was explaining about why system planning and operating style is the first thing we have to know to evaluate the extent of general controls we need to do. Why is, if you are going to, let's say, go to a tally client where I'm having single user tally, okay, the controls expected to be tested is much different than, let's say, I'm going to have a multi-user tally scenario. Okay. Next, let's say I'm having a SAP scenario where I have an in-house server. Okay, and I have deployed different clients. I'm having 300 users. Then the IT controls required is different. Now I'm not bought any license implemented. I have not bought a software and implemented, but I am going for a cloud solution where Zoho Books. Okay, I'm just going, logging in, I'm creating an account, I'm starting making my accounting entries. Now, then in this scenario, the IT controls I require to evaluate general controls is going to be different. Okay, so first is on-prem solution is like owning your own car. Okay, you have to take to service, you have to take ownership, you have to do repairs, you need to do everything, insurance you have to take, RC, everything in your name, all risks and responsibilities with the client. On-prem solution, SAP or Oracle implemented in my server, customized for my business, then it is your own car. Okay, then all components of IT general controls are applicable to such a client. Okay, next is leased car. Leased car is infrastructure as a service. RC book is not in my name, insurance is not in my name. Okay, but maintenance I have to do. Okay, anything, let's say I can customize little bit, I can change the seat cover. Okay, I can do some modifications for the period of time I'm running. Okay, then for that I am going to, what it is like, sharing the risks. Few things with the ownership and all is going to be dealt with the product vendor, and whatever I am going to customize, it will be with me. Like I can take one example, leased car, it will be like your this one, compute tags, Winman and all. See, they will keep giving all the patches for updating latest laws, latest things and all. But it is up to you to enable that, ensure that particular law is or that particular section deduction is included in your tax return for that client, and then only upload it. Okay, it will not automatically do, but they will give you that, they are owning that, but it's up to you whether you want to use those features or not, something like that. Okay, next is platform as a service. So this is like a taxi. You have a structure there. You are not going to own anything. You are not going to do customize anything. Okay, there are fixed routes. Whichever route you want, you can use it. There are some workflow automation systems and all, where, let's say, only for approvals you may have a different system for finance, etc., but only for approvals you will use this platform. You any request like change management system, ticketing system. Okay, there are some fixed modules. You raise some ticket, then it will show you status, you can close. Jira, you have heard of some apps, then those all will come under platform as a service. Then we have software as a service. So best example for software as a service is you cannot do anything. Okay, you cannot even fix, there is a fixed routes, you are choosing routes. Software as a service is you cannot even choose. Once you choose the bus, that bus will go to only that routes. It will not do any other route. Okay, so you are only going to pay per use. The bus also, it's not in your discretion who all are going to join the bus. Okay, you are only taking one ticket to sit in one chair. Okay, then what type of controls will be required? You can have your own accident life insurance. Okay, accident policy and life insurance, that's the only control you can have. All other things, okay, regarding the bus maintenance, route, driver evaluation, everything is going to be taken care by the bus owner and route owner, right? So then this is called as software as a service. So it is very, very important for us to understand which type of software our client has implemented, because depending on that, the infrastructure requirement is going to change. Let's say I'm going to go for some cloud-based accounting package or cloud-based software package. What I need only internet and laptops or computer. Okay. So for having internet and laptop computer, we don't need robust servers, access control. We don't need IT general controls at all. I can just see, okay, I can just go back and I will check in this. Okay. So in this general control, I will check whether the client is having disaster recovery, whether the client is having, I would say not the client, the service provider. Service provider is having system maintenance. Everything is covered in SLA checkbox. Okay. Next, inside software. Am I having multiple users? Do I have maker checker? Okay. Whether approval is there, whether audit trail is there, whether I'm able to take report, whether I'm able to give some input validation. These all comes under application control. General controls is fully transferred. It will be in your agreement with the company. And there is one more additional control you can take. That's called a service organization certificate. So even in CA Institute for India, we have SAE 3402, if I'm not wrong, SAE 3402, type 1, type 2. Globally, we have SOC. Okay, we have SOC certificate, SOC, Service Organization Certificate, type 1, type 2. Then we have International Accounting Standard, SA 402, type 1, type 2. Okay, so these are all some third-party audits on service organization. Okay, where the service organization like Zoho or QuickBooks is getting themselves audited by an independent auditor to give that report to all their customers, right? So whenever the client is going to be software as a service, that is the easiest part of ITGC. So I'm covering that first. What we need to do, we need to evaluate whether all the SLAs are met. Okay, in the agreement, there is no downtime. They are going to support you. They are going to maintain systems. They will maintain backups for you. All this, you will just review the agreement. You will see whether the adequately worded. Okay. Adequately, or I'll say explicitly, certain things need to be mentioned, like they are going to take care of downtime, they will be taking care of backup, they'll be taking care of maintenance, they'll provide support in case we need any escalations. All that we can evaluate, and the next level we will directly go and ask them for a SOC certificate or SA 402 certificate, and all the accredited prominent software providers already will have this. Okay, apart from that, we can also take ISO certificates. Okay, ISO we have 27001. So ISO certificates to evaluate, it's basically to know that the service organization is having adequate controls or processes in their development process, in their maintenance process. Okay, so we can depend on one, agreement with the service organization, next audit reports of the service organization, then best practice frameworks followed by the service organization. Okay, so three things, very simple. We can close software as a service, one part of ITGC directly complete. Okay, so now balance we need to see. So here we have a small table to differentiate different category of implementation. What are the controls we need to do? So on-prem, as I mentioned, all the areas we need to do: physical security, infrastructure security. Hypervisor is basically how you are going to monitor your servers. Okay, virtualization of servers, network traffic, OS, operating system level, application level, data level, access level. So top down, everything in your OSI layer will come, and we need to evaluate. Okay, next, infrastructure as a service. So here I have my server, I have my application, but I'm hosting in a third-party data center site. Okay, the device is there, but inside the device I am going to install my licensed let's say Windows server or my Linux server. Okay, and then I'm going to monitor the network. I'm going to install my own applications in that server. Okay, then it is infrastructure as a server. So in this infrastructure is basically, I will take only the shelf. Okay, I'll take only the shelf in the data center. Therein, the physical security, the fire safety, the electricity, and cooling systems, all this alone are maintained by the data center person. Okay, I am going to put my server. Okay, I am going to put my network devices. I am going to install my I'm going to install my own applications or operating systems and manage. Then it is infrastructure as a service. The third part, platform as a service, there is already operating system available. Okay, you are going to subscribe to part of the operating system. They will give a virtual space inside the server, which is also already installed. Okay, in that virtual space, I'm going to just install my application, manage my application. Then it is platform as a service. Okay, so platform as a service generally will be for any small products which you are going to test. Mostly accounting level packages don't come in this category. In this category only, mostly it will come. If you take now, even Tally comes as on-prem only. Okay, because I am hosting Tally server. If you take SAP, Oracle also, it will come as on-prem only. So infrastructure as a service, actually, this is done by companies like NBFCs. Okay, this infrastructure as a service, it is generally used by NBFC, insurance companies, okay, and smaller banks like Cooperative Bank, Maila Bank, like that smaller banks. I don't know, urban, some what we call it, urban primary cooperative, some banks, sorry, some categories of banks, smaller things. Where they are using is, see, for me, Tally server or SAP server, small machines are sufficient. Okay, but when I'm going to have a bigger decentralized system, I'm going to connect 1,000 users, 10,000 users. For me to host the infrastructure of data center is going to be a complex activity. Okay, it's a very costly activity. So what I'll do, I will go for a data center which is already there and only host my servers there, my machines there. Okay, so maintenance of a data center is also a very, very, very costly task. Okay, so generally small companies, let's say less than 1,000 employees or 2,000 employees, on-prem directly we can manage the expenditure, not very costly. But when you go for very, very large installation like State Bank of India, PNB, big banks, big insurance companies, they also go for on-prem. They will also have huge budget where they can have their own data center and host all their applications. Because let's say for a bank to run, they may have around a minimum of 200 applications running. Okay, this 200 applications to put in a third-party site, it is more complex. So they will generally build a new data center and host their products there. But the mid-size, there are some companies, no, like NBFC, small banks, small insurance company, where regulatory requirement is there. They need to reach a lot of people, but at a very low cost. Then they will go for infrastructure as a service. Okay. So maybe quickly, I will just show you. So just for people who haven't seen data center before, there are a lot of videos in it. There is a lot of videos in YouTube. It's only a 5-minute video. I'll just show you how it happens. Because after seeing this, it will be easy when I'm explaining you different aspects of how to audit IT general controls. Okay. So this is a sneak peek into Google's one of the data center. This is not a new video. There are a lot of technologies that have changed after this. It's, I think, more than 4-5 years old minimum video. So I will just see this. Is the audio also coming for the video?
ரொம்ப கம்மியா கேக்குது.
Okay, கம்மியா கேக்குதா? கேக்குதுலனா? Actually, there is subtitles for the time being if you're not able to hear. But 1 minute, I'll just try resharing. Sometimes with sound will come in share computer. Yeah, I found it.
Offsets for our data centers. This data center here in South Carolina is one
now it is audible.
Network of data centers all over the world. Of all the employees at Google, a very, very small percentage of those employees are authorized to even enter a data center campus. The men and women that run these data centers and keep them up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are incredibly passionate about what they're doing.
In layman's terms, what do I do here?
I typically refer to myself as the herder of cats.
And I'm an engineer, hardware site operations manager.
We keep the lights on, and we enjoy doing it.
And they work very hard. So we like to provide them a fun environment where they can also play hard as well.
We just went past the 3 million man-hour mark for zero lost time incidents. 3 million man-hours is a really long time, and with the number of people that we have on site, that is an amazing accomplishment.
I think the Google data centers really can offer a level of security that almost no other company can match. We have a information security team that is truly second to none. You have the expression, they wrote the book on that. Well, there are many of our information security team members that have really written the book on best practices in information security. Protecting the security and the privacy of our users' information is our foremost design criteria. We use various layers of higher level security the closer into the center of the campus you get. So just to enter this campus, my badge had to be on a pre-authorized access list. Then to come into the building, that was another level of security.
So if you see, it's like a separate fort by itself, where they have a gate which is like 5 kilometers before the building, and they have this artificial lakes where they are having alligators.
To get into the secure corridor, which leads to the data center, that's a higher level of security. And the data center and the networking rooms are the highest level of security. And the technologies we use are different. Like for instance, in our highest level areas, we even use underfloor intrusion detection via laser beams. So I'm going to demonstrate going into the secure corridor now. One, I have to be on the authorized list with my badge. And then two, I use a biometric iris scanner to verify that it truly is me. Okay, here we are on the data center floor. The first thing that I notice is that it's a little warm in here. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Google runs our data centers warmer than most because it helps with the efficiency. You'll notice that we have overhead power distribution. Coming from the outside yard, we bring in the high voltage power, distribute across the bus bars to all of the customized bus taps that are basically plugs where we plug in all the extension cords. All of our racks don't really look like a traditional server rack. These are custom designed and built for Google so that we can optimize the servers for hyper efficiency and high performance computing. It's true that sometimes drives fail and we have to replace them to upgrade them because maybe they're just no longer efficient to run. We have a very thorough end-to-end chain of custody process for managing those drives from the time that they're checked out to the server till they're brought to an ultra-secure cage where they're erased and crushed if necessary. So any drive that can't be verified as 100% clean, we crush it first, and then we take it to an industrial wood chipper where it's shredded into these little pieces like this. In the time that I've been at Google for almost 6.5 years now, we have changed our cooling technologies at least 5 times. Most data centers have air conditioning units along the perimeter walls that force cold air under the floor that then raises up in front of the servers and cools the servers. In our solution, we take the server racks and we butt it right up against our air conditioning unit. We just use cool water flowing through those copper coils that you see there. So the hot air from the servers is contained in that hot aisle. It raises up, passes across those coils, where the heat from the air transfers to the water in those coils, and then that warm water is then brought outside the data center to our cooling plant, where it is cooled down through our cooling towers and returned back to the data center, and that process just repeats over and over again. To me, the thing that amazes me about Google and the data centers is the pace of innovation and always challenging the way we're doing things. So when people say that innovation in a certain area is done, that we've kind of reached the pinnacle of what can be achieved, I just laugh.
So now if you see what we understand from this video, first data center is a place where you are hosting your infrastructure, your machines, okay? And every person who's going in, okay, will go in for a specific purpose only. All the people will work out. These are like infrastructure, but it can be accessed from outside, okay, through internet, where you are managing those systems, how it works, your network devices, your switches, your servers, your media drives, everything is hosted in a very, very secure environment. So like this guy went in for degaussing, right? He had something to change or remove. So that time only he will go in.
Efficient to run. We have a very thorough end-to-end.
This will be based on a ticket raised for repair or maintenance. Okay. Okay, 1 minute. Am I okay? Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, as you go in, it should be based on a ticket. There should be a secure environment. You have to do only what you are supposed to do based on the ticket. It will be closely monitored, because a data center is a place. It's like a hub where you are going to host all your systems in one place, depending on which only your entire applications and users are going to work. So data center is nothing but we can call that is the cloud. Data center is nothing but the cloud which you are mentioning, right? Whenever we are saying cloud systems, it is a system which has infrastructure hosted in one place, and we are accessing from a another location, okay, through internet. So internet or VPN or whatever network you are going to use, it is going to be a remote location where we have hosted these systems, right? So like in this scenario, you have to see. Now, if you see that Google data center, it is very, very huge, but at least 1/3 the size will be every data center you see. Any prominent banks you visit, they'll also have a data center. Any prominent insurance company, they'll have a data center. As I told, the mid-size companies, they will actually share the data center. They will go and subscribe to Google's data center. In India, most commonly shared data center is AWS. Okay, there is a AWS data center in Hyderabad. Then we have some smaller data centers also. IBM is there. Smaller data centers like BSNL's data center is there. Like that, where you can go take a shelf in the secured environment, host your applications. Okay, you can decide whether you want to leave the management to the data center people, or your team will go and manage. Both ways it can be done. Okay, Control-less is one brand where they are hosting data centers. They have 2 data centers in India. So like that, we have a lot of data centers in India where these applications are managed. So very small system like Tally and all, the controls you need to evaluate will be little lesser. Okay, once there is more applications, more connectivity, more networks, then the controls we need to evaluate are going to be higher. Okay, so with this conceptual understanding, we will go to our next thing. So in IT general controls, what all we are going to evaluate? First is IT governance. Next is physical and logical access. Third is going to be your data security and data privacy. Very, very important. This is the most important, because here if any intrusion we are going to allow, or any hacking that is going to happen, any data theft is going to happen, it is going to impact your client organization very immensely. Okay. So next is change management, asset management. So here we'll be talking about IT hardware and IT software. Okay. So fixed asset register, how we are maintaining, no? Similarly, for software asset also we need to maintain. So there's a concept called as SAM, software asset management. Okay. So that also we need to maintain. So that will also come under your IT general controls. Backups. Then we have disaster recovery and business continuity planning. So these are the major heads that are covered in IT general controls for today. There may be few other areas also, depending on the industry and depending on the systems the organization is using. Okay. So in IT governance, what all is very important? First, whether the management, okay, or the board or people, those charged with governance, CWG, right? They have to have buy-in that IT is a critical activity. Okay. Without their buy-in for IT, it is very, very difficult to implement any policy or procedure or have any IT budget, right? So it's very important how they are having their IT operating plan, whether it is documented, whether it's broken down to measurable plans, where they want to reach, because IT strategy should align with your business strategy. As IT grows, business will grow. So that is the expectation. So what is IT steering committee? Basically, this will be giving the IT steering committee will be the spearheading department, wherein they will set the direction in which the IT team should work. Whether they should work on automation, they have to work on data privacy, whether they have to work on cyber security, which is the core area they are looking at now, which are their strengths that they are stable in, which are the things they need to improve. All that direction setting will happen from the management through IT steering committee. Then I need IT policies, IT procedures documented and approved. So your policy should be required for all this. Like, let's say I have a IT policy document, information technology security policy document. Okay, they call it IT and IS policy or IT policy something. So if you have that, it should cover all the components. It should cover IT governance, BCPDR, backups, asset management. It can be, see, in large organization, each policy will be different. IT policy will be different, physical access policy will be different, logical access policy will be different. Okay, you can have separate discrete documents, or you can have all together one document. Either way, it is fine. It doesn't make any difference, but your document should cover all these aspects. Okay, I think one incident management I included with change management. So incident management, all these are very, very important aspects. Okay, next is roles and responsibility. So in IT department, what are your roles and responsibility? How you are going to manage? Who is going to take decision for what? All that is going to come under your roles and responsibility. Data ownership. So data, who is the owner of the data? Any answer? There should be clear data ownership is given in the slide already. Who is the owner of the data in the organization? Is it the business team or is it the IT team? Let's say there is procurement, one module or one application for purchase, or HR, simple HR application, almost all companies will have. So HR is generating some data, payroll is there. Is the HR head responsible, or is it the IT team who has implemented the application responsible? Yeah, any more answers? Yes, Sanjay. Yeah, business. It's very, very clear. Always business team. Yes, very good, Jatin. So, Praveen, all your answers are correct. Business is always the data owner. Okay. So it is expected that IT doesn't deal with data. They deal only with the applications and processes and screens. Okay. So then IT risk assessment. So I have noticed this very, very frequently. Even companies who have done IFC, who have documented RCMs, fail to include IT general controls and IT risks in the RCM. Very, very few companies only, okay, are including IT as a key activity and including IT governance and IT GC in the risk control matrix. So that is also a very, very important aspect which we need to evaluate. So basically, IT governance from an entity level perspective deals with your strategy, policies, okay, and risk management. Okay, this is the key areas. Next, we are going for physical and logical access. So physical access, what all is there? First, I need to protect staff systems. Okay, so first resource is my employees, second resource is my IT. Okay, how I'm going to protect? So I need to have CCTVs, I need to have compound wall, I need to have access doors. I should ensure that there's in register, out register. Okay, I need to ensure that, let's say my IT resources are there, my servers are there. I need to have extra staff, okay, or extra security to manage that nobody is having access to my server room. Let's say there's a CCTV surveillance room. So these type of things and all we need to evaluate. That comes under physical security. Apart from that, let's say my fraud and pest control comes under physical security. Then fire safety, that also will come under physical control. So I'll tell you some common observations I have noted. They'll put fire safety, one big fire extinguisher, okay, or water sprinkler in the server room. Okay, is it the correct control? Because they would have done water sprinkler in the entire building. So there will be one vent on top of your server room also. So as soon as there is smoke, it is going to throw water and combust the fire. Is it the correct control for fire safety? No. Okay. I cannot water sprinkler is advisable, but not on IT devices, because as soon as you put water in an server, the data will be unretrievable. Right? Okay, I understand. Natarajan sir. So it will be unretrievable. So you cannot even have carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. That also is not advisable. I'll say why. Because it leaves a sediment. So let's say there is fire, and most of the plastic cases are only there. In all the few very good data centers only will have metal cases wherein you are putting your devices. Mostly it's plastic cases. So if there's fire, and first thing is, yeah, it should be halogen based, sir. Correct. So you need gas based fire suppression systems. Okay. So it is very, very important that we need correct control for the activity. Now I'm having CCTV camera. I am having CCTV camera even before the server room. The same level of control I am having for normal corridor also, and server room corridor also, and the normal gate entry also. Is it correct way? There also we can see there is so much technology available, because of which these things are possible. Okay, so we have cameras where it will record only when motion is detected. So every time, only when something is happening, it will record. So this way, what is happening when you have motion detected cameras, motion detector based cameras, your space is going to be used in a better way. Okay. Next, when some incident happens, directly you are going to see only the transactions that has happened. I mean, see only the movements that have happened, and not any random so many hours of content where no activity has happened. Okay. So these are all some important aspects that we need to evaluate. Now, let's say we are going to audit some ATM systems of a bank. Okay. So now then we have to go for evaluating regulatory requirement of this storage retrieval. Okay. Storage retrieval or archival. Okay. Like for example, let's say the policy says you need to maintain CCTV backup for around 30 days. Okay. There's an explicit policy. What you'll audit for this? Will you go and see whether 30 days data is there? Okay. Will you go and see how much data is there, or what else we need to see? Any control evaluation point? So first we need to see how much the capacity of my DVR, digital video recorder. So camera is the input device. Okay, camera may be 4,000, 5,000 rupees, which is very, very cheap. Even motion detection camera is cheap only, it's not very costly. So having camera, positioning of the camera, all can audit immediately. It's there physically visible in your eyes. Okay. But the key control that you have to evaluate is not just position of the camera or number of cameras. You have to evaluate the capacity of the digital video recorder you are having for the recordings to come and get stored. So if you are going to have less volume space in your DVR, okay, then the essence is lost. Okay, because what it will do is 30 days folder name will be there. But what happens once the storage is full, it will keep re-recording or overwriting old recording. Okay. So wherever there's a regulatory scene, even if it's internal policy decision, no problem. You overwrite also, no problem. Okay. Less risk. But when there's regulatory requirements where you need to maintain recordings, there we cannot take this risk. So we need to ensure that the space also is there. Okay. So physical access controls is also a very, very critical part in our audit. Like we saw CCTV, now fire safety, now same way for wiring system, pest control. Okay. So even this pest control for data centers, the pest control is totally different. You cannot keep any bait, sticky sheets and all. They will generally do, I am not recalling the device name. It will be like a frequency based sensor. So it will it will keep emitting some frequency basis which any pest that comes will repels and it will run away. It will not die there, because let's say it dies there because nobody goes inside the data center, right? So what happens is if there is any cobwebs or dead rats and all, it is going to infest your system. It is going to actually reduce the performance of your system. So there are different category of physical controls required for a server room than that is for the normal office space. Okay, so next comes the logical access control. Logical access, so physical access, we saw fire, water. Basically, water also, one more point is there. So let's say you are in ground floor. Generally, server room should not be in ground floor, because if there's a flooding, ground floor is the one which will get immediately flooded, right? So, and if you recall seeing the video on the data center, you saw all the wiring is not there in the device. You are not seeing any like our current room wiring going up and down. So generally, all data centers and this treasury front offices and all are on an elevated pitch, or on top they would have left a 3 feet ceiling, where all the wiring is going to come from underground or from top of the ceiling. Okay, so what is for that aspect also, generally as a control measure from flood, data centers are always, or server rooms are always placed in first floor. Okay, first floor or any other floor other than ground floor. So that is also something we need to do. So dust is next. So only they'll not have always places where you store systems and computers. You put AC, mainly not just because of the heat that is computers are emitting. That is also one reason, temperature control. But second reason is that will evade dust also. If you keep your windows open and all, it will again risk threat of people unauthorized access, etc. Okay, so humidity you will maintain, both will come under, that's HVAC system. Perimeter is your access control. So generally, apart from I showed you the alligators and all, no? So in our Indian data center which I have visited, I have not seen this alligator fort and all. Okay, but surely they have multiple layers of security. In data center, it will be like before you get access to the data center, you get approval. That itself is a big process. Okay, after you get approval for going into the data center also, the number of entries you need to make, number of photo ID they capture, we have to provide. It is high. Minimum of 4 levels of security will be there before you access a server room or a data center. Server room, it's fine. It will be lock and key with the IT person. You can go and visit those. These are all some physical access controls which are very commonly used. Next is logical access control. Okay, so in logical access control, this is also, see, these two I'm taking more time to explain, though it may sound very simple, is because this is applicable for all the clients irrespective of small or big. Okay, so as we go further, network security, firewall, all that, no, it will be like, let's say we have very few people. I'll not say very few people, I mean to say small and medium sized companies may not require, only large companies may be requiring those controls. So this too we are spending more time. Okay, so in logical access control, there are different levels of logical access. I'll just show you. Okay, it's not there, sorry, I missed that slide. So I'll just draw here. So let's say first is operating system. Okay, that is your server. Okay, inside your server, what you will have, first you will have some database, network, all that. Okay, database, network devices, all that is going to be in your server. So this is your second layer. Sorry, I'm not writing with the stylus. Please bear with my handwriting. Okay, after that I'm going to have application hosting, application layer. Okay, after that layer I'm going to have my end user. Okay, end user. Okay, so now people who are directly accessing my server, database, operating system, all these people I'll be calling as privileged users till here. Okay, till here I'll be calling as privileged users. Okay, PIM, privileged user management, PIM. Why? Because they are having more access than a person who can make a transaction in the end product. So why I'm calling them as privileged users? First, they are having more access. Next is the criticality of any data that goes wrong in database level or network level is or server level is going to be much higher than any one person passing some PO with wrong value or wrong HSN code or wrong tax rate, it is going to impact only that particular PO or that particular invoice, right? But if someone is doing something wrong at the database level or server level, instead of deleting one file, he deleted all files. It's going to be like creates a very, very huge impact in the organization, right? So that is the main reason privileged users are separately identified, and there are additional security controls that is expected for from a privileged user. Okay. So next, my normal application user, these people are coming under my normal like super user for the application, will have 2 passwords. There will be people who are managing my admin team and support team. They all will be in the application. My user will be the end user who's making the entries. Okay. For all these people, I need user management. Okay. User management is a common activity where I'm identifying my privileged users, I'm identifying my general users, normal users, external users. Okay. Like auditor, we also get access to the system, right? So all this comes under external users, normal users. Okay. Then privileged users. For each people, I need to evaluate like user management in the sense, first I will define user profile. Okay. Like who all can access what all screens. That is called profile. So there may be 4 or 5 profiles attached to one role. Role means like purchase executive, accounts executive, okay, CFO, management, admin. Like that, you will be having first profile. Then profile will be tagged to role. Okay. From role, one person can be assigned multiple roles. Like for example, for my supervisor, I may be proxy for something. Okay. For me, he may be proxy for something. So for me, 2 roles could be attached depending on the work profile what I'm taking up. Okay. So all this when I'm doing, I'm under user management. So when I join, how I'm going to get to this roles attached, who is going to approve my role, how my who is monitoring what all activity I'm doing, then how the roles are revoked. Okay. All that activity will come under my user management. So next is session management. So one user, I gave the login. How many sessions he can be parallelly? Like I am logging in from my home now. Can I do the same login from office now? Can someone else use my same login and connect from a different location in a different device? Is it possible? So all that comes under session management. So generally parallel sessions are not advisable. Okay, so generally sessions should be only one thing. Even in MCA income tax portal it will come. No, it's if MCA you log out and log in, it'll say this user is already logged in. Please log out from a session and then re-log in, like that. So that is session management. So session management one is multiple session or parallel session disabling. Next is session expiry. That is how much time you want that particular session to be. So this is important even for user screens. Like for example, 4 times password they have put wrong, you will disable the screen. Why? Or let's say the captcha, every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes, captcha will refresh. Why they are doing that? Any inputs? Why captcha is refreshed within 2 minutes or 5 minutes? Anyone? Yes, very good, Pravina. So it's, I'll not say detection, it's prevention. Bot use prevention. Like, let's say I'm having a password bot where I'm trying wrong passwords every time. And generally password bots work based on what? A permutation and combination, right? It will try first commonly used passwords, then it will try what you say, rotation only, keep A, then year B, C, D, E, F, like that permutation combination only it will run and it will crack the password, right? So when it is working, I don't want him to use more time to crack the password. So only they say password complexity should be higher, wherein the password bot is not able to crack the password quickly. Okay, so I have session expiry in the login screen. So session expiry even in the transaction. Why in the transaction when I should have session expiry? It should not be like I was working on something. I forgot and I went out and I missed that I did not lock my screen or log out, and someone else actually came and sat on my system and did something. Or let's say unattended session is there, like let's say 5 minutes, there's no activity. It is possible for a hacker to hijack your session. Okay, there's a cybersecurity attack called as session hijack itself. After you authenticate and boot a session, there could be a possibility a hacker could come and hijack your session and use that credentials to do some malicious activity. Okay, so for those type of control, session management is also very, very important. Next, suspension of inactive user ID. Immediately you have to suspend. How you have to archive their audit logs, how you are going to redirect any mails that are coming under inactive user ID, or notifications coming to an inactive user ID to the successor or the supervisor, etc. That is also a very, very important component, because if there is an idle ID, it is possible that the person who left the organization or vandalized because of which you made inactive, no, it should not be like it is used for routing any authorized transaction. It's like sparingly used GLs. See, if any GL only one entry is passed, that was also a red flag for you in audit, right? Only one entry passed in the entire year, only 2 entries passed in the entire year. Because why that entry is passed? You are able to understand. If it is not commonly used, leave alone provisions and audit entries and all. I'm telling about transaction entries. Across the year, there was no purchase of this particular product or any purchase from this particular vendor. Suddenly, one big transaction is there. Then you want to go and investigate what is that product, why we have bought it. It's not capex. It is not a regular vendor. Why? So like that, it is possible here also inactive user, some person can maliciously use. So that activity is also to be monitored or ensure that it is suspended. It's not, nobody's having access to an inactive account. Next, we have this privileged user access management. So I was mentioning PIM, right? Privileged identity management or privileged user management is also, you can call it. So here what they will do, let's say for user management, I'm having password as the authentication. Yes. Even for terminated employees, suspension of inactive user ID is very, very important. Okay. So in privileged user management, what is the extra things we need to evaluate is, in user management, let's say I'm having password. Okay, let's say I'm having password as one of my authentication measures, or only one password as my authentication measure. In privileged user, I'll have two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication means password with OTP. Okay, why? I want to make double sure correct person only is logging in. Okay, next, it's not necessary that in normal user I should not put password and OTP. In normal also I can have two-factor authentication. When I'll have two-factor authentication in normal users, whenever it's a critical job. See, I'm not just passing some entries or journal entries. I'm going to process some cash. I'm going to manage bank. Okay, I'm going to invoke a API to directly disperse loans in the bank portal. So these are all going to involve money. It's going to involve immediate debit in your account. Okay, even banks, if you see, almost every bank, the end user who is sitting in the branch will have two-factor authentication, because you don't want anyone else to use your password and login. So generally it will be two-factor, means one will be OTP or biometric, to ensure only the right person is coming and logging in. Okay, so two-factor authentication is one area where privileged user access can be managed. Second thing is, I am not going to just give them controls to authenticate that he is the right person. I'm going to monitor what he is doing. Okay, in a more greater extent. Like, there are a lot of PAM tools now available in the industry. Okay, again, this is for a situation where I'm talking, where the company is a big company, you have a data center, etc. Okay, PAM solution they call it. What this solution will do is, it will monitor every transaction once a privileged user is logging in. Let's say privileged user is logging into the database to create a table, or let's say to modify a table. The PIM solution will first enforce multi-factor authentication. Next, it will enforce logging of every keystroke, every screen, what is doing, to ensure at end of the day, if something goes wrong, I have information to go back and investigate who did wrong, what wrong was done, why the database corrupted, or why the database was lost, how someone cheated, or um, data theft happened. There could be numerous things, right? So generally at database level, OS level, you require to have minimum of two-factor authentication for privileged users. If you are going to deal with critical data, critical information, critical application, then you need monitoring applications where you are recording the screen after logging in, what all it does. Okay, monitoring keystroke after logging in, what all the user is doing. So this is a very important part of privileged user access management. Then password configuration. So this is also very important. Complexity of password, already password what we discussed. Apart from that, we also have to ensure that passwords are stored in encrypted form. Okay, it should not be the case where you are someone else has used your password to deface you and do some activities in your name. Okay, no one from backend should be able to pick your password, no one of your friend should be able to pick your password. So how you are going to configure your password in terms of your complexity, how you're storing in an encrypted form, then what is your password expiry you are going to set. Okay, all this also becomes very, very important. So some example I have put here. So for roles we were mentioning, right? I was mentioning user will have each profile. So we need to have some control over who is entering what data. Like now, if you see here, username ABC1, he is having purchase order creation and goods receipt. Okay, so these are two incompatible functions. So it is not expected for a purchase team guy to have inventory goods receipt entry, or a inventory guy to have purchase order creation. So this is a conflicting role. So these roles we have to take as a specific exception to evaluate why this role is given. Okay, then let's say you are going to have master data access. Then this is also a critical role. Who all are having master data access? So 3 people are having master data access. Is it required for 3 people to manage master data? So that you have to evaluate. So master data is also like privileged user only. So if I create one wrong duplicate master, I can use that master to make, let's say, hundreds of POs. Okay, but if I create one wrong PO, it's going to impact only that one wrong PO amount. So the controls required for master data is much higher than the controls required for transaction data. Okay, and the controls required for database or server access is going to be much higher than the access required for front-end normal user interface. Okay, so next is password policy. Every application will have all this, whatever we had discussing, user management, session management, inactivate the user ID, all this will have some configuration screens. So let's say I will just try to explain this. Let's say there is an application. Okay, I'm just denoting the application by this symbol. Okay, so this application will have what is called as an admin module. Okay, this top cover is the admin module of the application. So in this admin module, I'll be able to create users, assign roles, I'll be able to create passwords, I'll be able to manage screens, I will be able to manage approval limits, I'll be able to manage, let's say, inactivating screen, activating screen, creating a new field. All that will come in the application admin module. Okay, so whatever comes here, we call it configurable controls. Configurable controls. Like for example, even period closure. Okay, every month you need to do period closure, every quarter you are doing period closure, all that will come under configurable controls. So if there is an application, in that application there will be a admin module, and in that admin module I can configure controls. But let's say it's not a system functionality at all, you're going to create a new module, you're going to create totally new workflow. Okay, then for those you will not have configurations, you have to do customization. Okay, so that customization you will do in the development environment. Okay, so whatever we discuss now is the production environment. So generally application will have 3 environments. One you will call the development environment, where you have codes, forms, like that. Okay, development. Then you will have testing environment. Okay, then you will have testing environment, and then you will have production environment. Okay, this is called production. So in the production environment itself, all the configuration controls will be able to solve. Okay, whenever there's a customization required, then it should go to development environment, it should be tested, then it should be deployed. So generally in an organization where SDLC is not maintained by me, I am not doing the development and testing and all, till here it will be with the vendor. Okay, till this will be managed by vendor. Production mostly will be managed by the company itself. This production will be managed by the client organization itself, but this too could be managed by the vendor depending on the installation. Okay, now if you take Tally, okay, you may not have a separate test environment. It's like a platform as a service. You download, you install, you start working. You may have only backups. Okay, so this will be there when you are developing the product. Okay, so இப்போ configuration controls and customization, why I told was in the configuration you can go and take screenshots or check whether session management. See, why I'm telling this is it is not sufficient. This is a very important concept. I think most of you are interacting, you are already knowing IT controls, but still for the benefit of other participants, I am taking this opportunity to share this. Whenever we take, let's say, user management, or let's say some application control, I'm going to put today's date, tomorrow's date. Okay, I'm trying dummy transaction. It shows one error box, and you are telling, okay, I tried entry. It is showing post-dated entry is not possible. Future date entry not possible. I am deciding. Or let's say maker checker, more than 1 lakh should be approved by this person. I tried entry more than 1 lakh, it went for approval. I cannot actually conclude any of my audit findings based on this controls which you are testing as on date. Okay, because the audit is for a period, not as on date, right? So it is very important that we are not evaluating IT controls based on end use. Okay, we have to evaluate IT controls based on configurations, or I'll call it design level. Always I have to audit IT controls based on design level and not based on operational effectiveness level. I don't know whether I have put it right. I hope you are able to follow. That is, let's say I'll take one more scenario. Okay, let's take, I need to audit password configuration. Okay, I need to audit password configuration. So they have given you a user ID and password. In that special character is there is alphanumeric, and you are telling, okay, password configuration implemented. I am saying you cannot take that, because that is OE testing. That is operational effectiveness testing of IFC. IFC is of two parts, right? So if we take IFC, yes, sir. Yes, Jatin. If operation effectiveness fails, actually the control will fail. But what I'm telling is, if operational effectiveness is passing, it doesn't mean control passes. Okay, the vice versa I'm trying to say. If so IFC is of two parts. Okay, IFC is of two parts. One, you do design control evaluation. Okay, design testing. Okay, design. And second, you are going OE, operational effectiveness testing. Okay, so what we are trying to tell here is, always for all IT controls, you need to go and evaluate all the design. You have to take evidence for design, not just walkthroughs. You need to take evidence for design, because here, if there is modification, if there is any changes, like for example, period closure. I'll give a basic example. Period closure is there. Okay, every month, okay, 5th of next month, I need to close the previous month period. It is a policy. Okay, you have come for audit on 7th or 8th. Okay, and you notice, yes, period is closed. I am trying to make an entry on previous month. It is not allowing to make. Okay, then OE is passing. Operation effectiveness test is passing, but I need to go and test the design. So in design, what I'll do, I will go and check the configuration screen where I am opening and closing period. It will have series of records with date, timestamp, who opened period, when it was closed. So you can see like 5th, someone would have closed the period for, let's say we are in month of June now, right? You are auditing for June, let's say March quarter. Okay. March or April will take, April month end. April na May 5th, you should have closed the period, right? You notice if you go to the design level and check the period open and period closure entries, you will know that May 15th, someone has opened, passed one entry and closed it. Okay, May 30th, someone has opened the period, passed some entries, then closed it. Okay, so now you came on 7th. That time when you came for your access, they had already locked the period. You left the organization, they again opened the period, they are putting entries. It is quite possible. You are able to follow, because IT, this is the thing we are trying to explain in the privileged user also. See, privileged user will have access to open the period. Okay. So the CFO is asking the IT head, please open the period. He will, IT team, someone support team, he open the period. I need to pass some entries. He will open the period. These people will pass entries. He'll say close the period. It will close. So now if you see, based on the OE testing of you cannot pass this control. You have to do a design testing of when all period is open, when all period is closed, whether that is adequate, whether it's inadequate. I have to evaluate the design configurations, and only then I can test, give a positive report. Is it clear? You are able to follow? So similar to that, I'm showing this is from some cloud-based application. So you will have some configuration screens for administrator, where you have something called master. Inside that master, I'm having a menu called preferences. Inside that preferences, I'm having preference for organization, web top preference, something and all is there. And inside that, I'm having something for password. There I have to deploy this password policy. So whatever deployment I have done for this password policy, this only will be rolled out for all the users. So my audit evidence is this, and not the end screen where I'm trying to put password and keep. Like end screen, no, you cannot check this all. Password is not matching last day password, whether it's first name, last name, all these things, no, you'll not be able to check. Maybe at least till year, you'll be able to check. You're able to follow. Yes, I'm taking a pause here. Are you able to follow? Any questions? Yes, are you people attending, listening to me like a radio? Did I leave any chat? Yes, are you able to follow? No response? Ah, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for responding and acknowledging. Yes. Okay. So now what we were discussing was password policy. So same like this, I hope you are understanding, right? You are understanding why we need to evaluate design level controls instead of operational effectiveness of IT controls. IT controls, always you need to evaluate design, so that you keep in mind very strongly. So next, if a password is encrypted, they'll say, yes, password is encrypted, no one can see. But you have to go to the database, take the username password saving place, and then it should be like this junk. So always encrypted. This is called hash. So password, what they have to do is they have to create a hash, one-way hash, where you cannot decrypt it and then store. So generally, every time your credentials are entered, it will map and it can generate that hash. That hash will get validated. Then only you will get authentic access. Okay. So this is also a very important part. So everything in the configuration level, if you go, you will be able to get actual screen view of whether it is encrypted or not. On top, it is a screenshot from SAP, and on bottom, it is a screenshot from Oracle systems. Okay. So now, just a small question. What type of access auditor should request? Is it display only, read only? What is the difference between display only, read only? Anyone? Next, whether IT general controls are pervasive or indirect. Yeah, first one D. Any other answers? Yeah, so I think both are correct. So display records, yeah, read display is basically you will be able to see the final entry. Okay, read means you can go to the screen and see what was the entry passed without edit mode. Okay, so read and display both you can have. So both A and B is required for an auditor. Surely you should not get any edit rates. Next is whether IT controls the indirect. No, they are pervasive. Okay, so it is always very, very important that, as I told you, if IT controls are going to fail, IFC will fail. So it is a very, very important aspect. Okay, so after that quick summary, we'll go for information security. So in information security, we are not going for too many things. We are only seeing 4 areas. Okay, this will be little more technical generally. Okay, but I'll try to simplify as much as possible. So we are going to see 4 areas. One is network security, firewall, system performance management, and antivirus. So apart from this also, there are 2 things which we can cover. We'll cover SOC, Securities Operations Center, and we'll also cover DLP, Data Leak Prevention. So these 2 are gaining a lot of prominence, especially if you are going to audit any listed company. DLP is mandatory. Okay, so we'll see this 2 also. So what is network security? So basically, how your LAN networks are connected, how your Wi-Fi is connected, how you are going to protect. They call something called as MAC binding. Okay, when you are connecting to your network, you have to go to an encrypted interface. So all that comes under network security. Next is firewall. So firewall is also part of a network security. It is going to be a device which is going to sit before your network, where any traffic that is coming inside your network will pass through the firewall to ensure that only legitimate traffic is going to come in. Okay, so now let's say router is your network.
This through management rules that are applied to the entire network so that any harmful.
So now let's say you are going to have this is called as an external firewall. Okay, this is called as an internal firewall. So whenever you're getting data into your router that is going to be on network, your external firewall will be there first. So there are both software based firewall, hardware based firewall. That is, there are devices available where you can plug in and it will act as a firewall. There are software firewall. Actually, in your router itself also, there are software based firewall where you can enable and use. Similar products are also available. So firewall, basically, what is a firewall? Will it protect automatically? Yes. Will it protect your network automatically just by buying and plugging in and playing? Okay, it won't. Okay, it won't. So what we need to do, firewall, we need to configure. So generally there are 2 major categories of firewall. So one is called whitelisting, next is called blacklisting. Okay, whitelisting means what I'll do is I will actually block all the traffic by default. Okay, I will block all the traffic by default, and what I'll do is I will only whitelist the traffic from my whitelisted domains. Okay, let's say from CA Institute, if I get mail, it should come inside my network. Other than that, any other domain I get mail, I should not get. Okay, so that is called whitelisting of firewall. So generally all regulated entities will have firewall based on whitelisting only. Okay, regulated entities means, I hope there is clarity in regulated entities, basically entities that are coming under IRDI, SEBI, RBI, PFRDI, all these entities which are coming under regulators in our country will be required to have this whitelisting, where I'm not allowing any outside traffic to come in. Basically, regulated entities will deal directly with cash or customer cash, okay, third party person's money. So these are very, very critical for them. Next is normal private company. Whitelisting is not required. You can work based on blacklisting. That is by default, everything you will allow. Okay. Blacklist few things, like all the domains relating to social media, I will block. All the domains relating to like pornography, you will block. Like that, you can blocklist or blacklist and create a blocked list of rules in firewall, basis which it will see, okay, what is this domain, what is this traffic, how it is coming, whether it is there in my block list, whether it is in my white list. Like that, it will read and then it will redirect. Okay, if it is in a block list item, then it will separately quarantine that and it will bring to our notice like a exception report. Okay, log will be available. We can evaluate who is that person who's trying to intrude into our system. Okay, so any clarification on firewall, how it works? So what we'll audit in the firewall as a control, I will be auditing whether blacklisting is maintained, whether whitelisting is maintained, what all is whitelisted, what all is blacklisted. That I will be doing in the firewall. Apart from that, what I'll do, I can also see open ports, like what all port is basically through which you are going to send or receive data. So for sending different types of files, there will be different types of ports. Like email will have separate port. We would have very frequently used what is called FTP, file transfer protocol, right? FTP port will be different. Internet port will be different. Like that, there will be different port, right? So we can block certain ports, have certain ports open. Okay, all that also I can monitor through a firewall. So this will be the key controls which I need to evaluate in the firewall. And in the antivirus, antivirus will come next. Apart from that, this is domain blacklisting, whitelisting, that also will come under firewall. Okay. Next is server performance. So you need to have a device. Okay. See, even firewall will have some dashboards based on what is the traffic that is coming in, what is the traffic that is going out, all that. Apart from that, for your system also, your servers and your devices also, you need to have a monitoring dashboard for main things like capacity utilization, downtimes, how much users are there, how many links are down. Like let's say your server is connected to 4 locations. Whether all 4 locations network is up and my server is, I have users connected to my server. Like that, I will generally have this dashboards to plan my server performance. This is also a monitoring activity which is required as part of my IT operations or IT performance to ensure my system is up. Okay. So this is event viewer. Okay. This is available in your system itself. If you put Windows button and put event viewer, you will get this group policy. This is in your system how you can define logging and password management and all will be available in the event viewer. So here, this is for a server environment where you have a proper server room, data center and all. This is in your system itself. You can define logs. So how much logs you want to save, whether it's based on this thing, whether you want to overwrite the log, whether you want to save based on number of days, all that you can configure in your event viewer for your system. Based on which you can go and retrieve the data, monitor the data, etc. and all. So recently in our office, one laptop was lost. Okay. So then we tried to recover through this Microsoft Office. They have this find my laptop. It will bring the IP and all. Then we found the laptop. We brought the laptop. So then we went into this event viewer, checked all the logs, who logged in, what they did, all that we were able to do a basic small incident investigation based on this activity. So even our laptop captures log. Every system will capture log. So that in your system, it will be like rows and rows and rows and line items of information. But newer variety of applications will give you dashboards where you can see patterns and movement of system performance, etc. Okay. So next is antivirus. So what is antivirus? Anyone, what is antivirus? Yeah. Why no one is interacting? Yeah. What is antivirus? Okay. So yeah. So yes, detects and quarantines malwares. Yes, very good. How it will detect? So what is the control we need to audit in the antivirus? So the entire ITGC and audit trail, we are evaluating. Actually, I'm trying to actually convey the controls we need to audit, right? Because antivirus will be there. Virus definition updates. Yes, very good. So what we need to evaluate is the updation of antivirus. So antivirus is nothing but a dictionary. Okay, it will have footprint, or I mean to say the virus footprint. So what all viruses are identified in different countries, in different places, your antivirus vendor will identify that and he'll add it into this dictionary of viruses. Okay, so every virus footprint he will try to capture in the directive. Okay, so now let's say you are going to, the risk in antivirus I'm trying to explain. The risk in antivirus is if you are going to get virus for a first time. Okay, it's a Pegasus. First time it came, you will get attacked. Okay, Pegasus came today. 1 week you didn't update your antivirus. It is possible you will get Pegasus again. Like for example, let's say your peer got Pegasus. Okay, you have not updated your antivirus for 1 week. Then it is possible your peer virus which came now, you are also getting, because you have not updated your antivirus to detect for this particular footprint. Okay, so what is important in antivirus is keeping your antivirus updated. So your vendor should be a robust vendor who's identifying all new viruses and updating the dictionary as and when things happen. But vendor will not ensure it is pushed to all clients and all systems are updating the antivirus, right? So it is up to the management and the IT team to ensure that antivirus is updated in all the systems and of the users of the company to ensure this. Okay, so once this happens, that means you will have protection for all the known viruses. But you are going to get Pegasus for the first time, then antivirus cannot do anything. If your peer got, you can update your antivirus and ensure that there is a prevention in your side. Okay, but you are going to get it for the first time, then antivirus cannot help. Okay, so antivirus is nothing but directory which has footprint of all the viruses in different countries and across the world. Okay, where you are going to where it is going to help you in monitoring. So what it will do, basically you download file, you send file, you do anything, it will first scan the files, it will see whether there is any matching footprint of virus to its dictionary. If there is some malware, if there is a virus, if there is a Trojan, then it will identify this is a malicious file. Please don't download this file. Please don't install this application. Like that, it will give some error messages and it will close. Okay, so how it will do based on the directory. Next, how it will identify based on the scanning. Okay, scanning it will do based on every file upload, download, it will scan. Okay, so both the things are important. That is, downloading and keeping the antivirus update is also important, and also scanning for every document you're sending, receiving, downloading is also important. Installing application is also important. Okay, clear? Okay, so next level is security is operation center. So basically this is again applicable for more robust entities. Okay, it is applicable for more robust entities where you are dealing with a lot of real-time information and interaction across internet or across distributed networks. Okay, so what this will do is, basically there is one type of audit you may be aware, called as VAPT. Okay, you know what is VAPT, anyone? VAPT is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So what happens in vulnerability assessment is, see what a hacker does. He will try to do some activities to know which is your weakest point, and he will try to intrude through that weakest point. Like if we go back to our house analogy, okay, if you have like a thief is trying to enter your house, what he'll do? He will keep observing your house for a few days or few months, okay, and he'll see which door you are leaving open, which door is breakable, which lock is breakable, where you are keeping your jewelry, what time you are at home, what time you are leaving home. Okay, like that he will be seeing different weak points and identify an ideal time to go to the ideal room and open the ideal cupboard to loot some valuable item, right? So that is going to be the methodology. So same thing only a hacker also will do. What hacker will do? He will try to go and ping into your server. He will find which all devices you are having, what type of systems you are having, through which you can come to your data, through which interface it is possible to penetrate into your system and come into your data. Like that, the hacker will keep evaluating. Okay, and he will come inside and he may take something out also. So in VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, what we'll do is, in VA, we will be doing a testing of what are the key weaknesses I'm having in my networks, in my application, in my operating system. I can do VAPT at all layers, not just application, not just data coming from outside, nothing like that. At code level also I can do code level, operating system level, database level, network level. I can do vulnerability assessment to identify weaknesses in the system. Okay, penetration testing is, after identifying the weakness, I'll try to break it and go inside, whether it is leaving me access or not. Okay, so I keep doing this. Okay, I keep doing this by, when I'm appointed by a company, then I'm called as a ethical hacker. Okay, if I'm doing it with a malicious intent to steal data, then I'm called as a hacker. Okay, a person who does VAPT is the ethical hacker, who is doing in behalf of the management to check the vulnerabilities, to ensure that I'm protecting myself from the vulnerabilities. Once I'm aware of the vulnerability, I will go and lock the door, right? See, I should know I should know which door is not locked, so that I can go and put lock. So that activity is done in VAPT by people appointed by the company, so who will be the ethical hackers. Okay, if I'm going to do it with a malicious intent to steal data, then I am called as a hacker. Okay, so VAPT, if I'm doing on a real-time basis, 24/7, I keep pinging and seeing 24/7. Okay, any vulnerability is there, any malicious person is trying to ping me, like that, if I keep doing, then I am called as a SOC, Securities Operations Center. Okay, so generally VAPT is done as a periodic exercise. Like for example, you do VAPT once in a year, once in 6 months, once in 3 months. Okay, on a periodic basis to evaluate security. But let's say you are auditing a bank, insurance company, etc. There is requirement every transaction. I don't want even one transaction illegitimate to happen, right? So then I'll do that exercise 24/7.
Security Operations Center, or SOC, operates 24/7, monitoring traffic via a security incident and event management system through the secure.
So that is your SOC. So next we'll go to, we have 3 more critical areas: change management, incident management, BCP, DR. Okay. So after that, we'll quickly go through audit trail requirements. Okay. And then we will run the test. So that is the agenda. Okay. So next is change management process. So as I mentioned, in IT general controls, we are seeing the fundamentals of your infrastructure and the processes for IT. That is, it is not sufficient if you have processes for your It is not sufficient if you have processes for your application level approval, application level maker checker. Only that it is not sufficient. You should have controls for evaluating even all the general controls. Okay, in terms of application change, in terms of, let's say, buying a new hardware, IT hardware, in case of, let's say, creating a new role, creating a new person, everything requires our maker, checker, approver, right? So that will go through a process called as change management process. So ideally in the change management process, if there is any application level change that is happening, okay, any application level change that is happening, then what happens is you will be having change request, okay, change approver, okay, there will be someone to approve the change. I'm just highlighting here user acceptance testing, and then you will have change implementation. Okay, so change request, approver of the change. Okay, UAT is basically whoever requested this change, he will come and evaluate whether whatever purpose for which this change was requested, okay, whatever purpose for which this change is requested is implemented or not. So after doing that, last level you will implement. Okay, this is the main process. But if there is an application level change required, okay, where you are creating a module, where you are going to do some change, design level change, then what you will do is you approve the change, it will go to development, they will do coding, they will do testing, everything. Then there will be integration testing, unit testing, that is standalone testing. I test it connecting to my environment in the UAT. We mentioned no development environment, testing environment, all that I will do. Then I will go for implementation. I'll do a QC, and then I approve implementation, and then I'll move to production. So in all this process, I'll be having segregation of duties and documentation. Okay. So this way I will be having a change management process. This will be for all IT processes, IT application processes, and even IT software or hardware processes. Let's say you need to procure 4 more or 40 more licenses. It will go through a service request or a change request only. Okay, you can call it a change request or service request, but you need to have that process where someone is initiating the change, someone is approving the change, and someone is documenting it, and then only the activity is happening. Okay, any questions in change management? Yeah, anyone? Okay. So this is a sample change request form. This is a manual form I have put, but there are a lot of applications to do this also. There are a lot of free tools also to raise change ticket, approve change ticket, all that, where you will have project name, who's requester, why they have requested, what it is doing, is it changing any functionality, is it changing, is it impacting any risk. So generally any change, no, they have to see end-to-end impact of the change, whether it is going to change my business process, is it going to change my risk, all that also we need to evaluate, and then only we have to implement the changes. Okay. So next we are going to incident management. So incident management, basically, like let's say you are going to audit a warehouse or a factory, you will be going and seeing for incident register, right? Where any incident, any wrong thing has happened, they will document it. So site supervisor will manage it. Why we are documenting it? Mainly to ensure that those things are not repeated, and some preventive control is implemented to ensure that those things are do not repeat later, right? So same activity we'll do change management, incident management also, where here we are talking about IT incident. Let's say someone hacked my account, some data loss happened, or let's say someone tried to penetrate into my system, some hacker tried to penetrate and he got first level access. So all this will become my IT incident. Okay, so any IT incident, okay, where you are thinking, or where you have identified potential loss of data or compromise of system, it should be reported to an organization called as CERT in. Okay, what is CERTIN? CERTIN is Computer Emergency Response Team. Computer Emergency Response Team. India. IN stands for India. Okay. CERTIN. So CERTIN is the organization, regulatory organization, who will be monitoring and guiding the company how to deal with cyber frauds. Okay. So any cyber fraud where you have identified any system compromise or monetary loss, it should be reported to CERTIN within 6 hours. Within 6 hours of the incident. Only then there is close to something where you can identify the person who did it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very long process. So it is very much expected to do within shortest possible time. Okay. So this is one part of it. So generally, as an auditor, when you go, you have to check whether there is an incident response. First, you have to see whether there is an incident policy in your IT policy. Okay. If there is an incident, how I am resolving it, then you ask for incident register. Okay. You see what all incidents are recorded, not recorded, how they are having the process. So generally, now we are talking about this firewall. All firewall and antivirus will be there for all type of systems. Even if I have Tally, if I have router, I'm going to have a small application inside my system. Firewall is required only. Okay, we cannot say firewall is not required. Okay, same thing for antivirus. I'm going to use internet is the only external application I'm using, or mailbox is the only
Made that may not
I'm using. Still, antivirus is required. SOC not required. VAPT once in a year required. Okay.
Secure.
So change management required. Incident management mandatorily required. Okay. So when I will have VAPT and SOC also, like in a critical thing is whenever I am having cloud-based system. Okay. So VAPT will be required more when I'm having a cloud-based system where I'm hosting something in the which I can access through a browser, and my end users, or my, it can be both clients who are logging in through the browser to my application or portal, or my employees logging into my application or portal. Still, I will be requiring VAPT. Let's say I'm going for SAP, the cloud version, which I'm connecting through browser, where I have hosted in third-party site. Okay, then we need to do a VAPT. Tally cloud, we need to do VAPT. Okay, Tally also there's given some cloud version, right, where you can host in third-party data center. Even from hold itself, Tally is having the cloud version. Tally remote, not Tally remote also we can do VAPT. Okay, so all these things will require VAPT. So wherever VAPT is there, incident also is required. So if there is any hacking event or someone is trying to have access, that you need to capture. So incident management also is a very, very critical part of your IT general control. So basically, this is the process or methodology for incident response management. You should have process for identifying the incident. There should be awareness drives where the people know what they have to report, how they have to report. Then there should be log captured for this. Then you categorize. So generally, incident management will be L1, L2, L3 classification. Then you will diagnose why this thing has happened, how it has happened, what type of escalation I need to do. So one type of escalation is the certain reporting, which I mentioned. After that, you have to investigate and diagnose, then resolve and close the incident. Okay, this is the incident process. So after that, we are having asset management. So basically, as fixed asset register, we have to maintain even for software asset. So we call it IT hardware asset, IT software asset. Basically, you should know how to configure or how to identify what is an asset. Okay, install the asset, whether it is reallocated, co-located, repair, reassignment, decommissioning, whether it's a software, how it should be disposed. It's very, very important disposal, because IT asset, no, directly you cannot sell your computer and all. Okay, it is very, 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 very critical that we are degaussing our IT systems. We are selling our IT systems only to a person who's going to destroy it, as per the video we saw first, where he's degaussing it. Degaussing means all the magnetic drive, no, he will destroy the magnetic drive so that no data is recoverable from that magnetic drive. Okay, so it is very essential that we are doing proper IT asset disposal. Okay, so all that will come under our IT asset management. So now we have come to the last part of ITGC, that is backup, BCP, DR. All together we can call it as business continuity management. What is BCM? Business continuity management. Here we will be dealing with first how I'm taking backup. If there's a problem, how I'm going to restore the backup. Okay. Do I need a disaster recovery location? That is, let's say I am operating in Chennai. Okay. Chennai, Hyderabad, Madras, Chennai, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Delhi, Mumbai, like that you are having places of business. So let's say something happens to one location. Will I be able to service my customers from another location? Okay. Like that, I have to plan how I'm going to continue my business if something happens to whatever I'm doing now. So that mind process should culminate into policy. After that, you have to implement that policy. You have to procure devices, hard drives, cloud storages, third-party site storages, all that to implement your BCM. Okay. So first level at backup, what we need to do. So this is also very, very important. It is mandatory under Companies Act. Okay. It is not just a good to have control, IFC control and all. It is specifically mentioned we have to maintain daily backups, minimum of daily backups as per Companies Act. We'll see that amendment also. It was a latest amendment. I think August 2022 was the amendment. Okay, from this current financial year, you have to ensure that those complies also there. So first you need to see what is the content of the backup. So you cannot, I will explain this. Let's say you are backing up only Tally. Okay, you are backing up Tally. Is that sufficient for you to restore? It is sufficient provided you have all the laptops. But let's say in the event of disaster, you will not even have laptops. So you should have some spare systems. Okay. Or cloud systems. So Tally to run, whether laptop alone is sufficient? No. Operating system also is sufficient, required. So you should plan backup for even operating system license, where you are going to save your operating system key. Do I have additional key wherein in terms of something happens to my current devices, I'll be able to do some other OS installation through some redundant systems. Redundant means extra systems. Okay. So like that, we need to plan what is the content I'm going to back up. So just backing up some photos or some files, some Excel sheets are not sufficient. I need to plan what all is there. If I want to retrieve or restore this data in terms of some disaster means something, it can be fire, it can be flood, it can be, let's say, total vandalism, it can be anything. Okay, but I should have all required activities. Okay, all required functions, all required systems and data. I need to do all activity, system, function, data, then only I'll be able to restore. So if you want to restore a Tally, Tally backup alone is not sufficient. You have to plan for laptop or system backup. You need to plan for operating system backup. Then only you can restore Tally. Similarly, you put all Excel files in one backup folder and you have saved. How you'll retrieve the system? You need Excel software to open it. Right? You need a PDF reader to read a PDF file. You need a document viewer to open a document file, image file. Okay. So like that, you have to plan each activity, how the content of backup is designed. Okay. Then frequency. So generally, when we say frequency, it is depending on what is the maximum loss you can accommodate. They call something as RPO, recovery point objective. Okay, recovery point objective and recovery time objective. Okay, so what is RPO? Recovery point objective. Point objective means if any disaster happens, up to what data I can retrieve. let's say now as I am working, okay, something happened. Today, now time is what? 7:12. Time is 7:12. 7:12, my system went out. Okay. Something happened to my data, fully corrupt. Now I need to restore from my backup. And what is the backup I'm having? Let's assume I'm having daily backup taken every day night. So what will be my recovery point objective is 24 hours. So let's say today night 12 o'clock, I'm going to lose all my data. I'll be able to restore to a point 24 hours before the disaster. Maximum RPO, recovery point objective. That is, I have to decide, okay, I have to decide or I have to accept that losing 12 hours of work is okay. Then I can have daily backup. That is okay if I'm going to have 1 or 2 invoices per day or 10 entries per day, then daily backup is fine. Losing 12-hour data is fine. Now let's take, we are a big FMCG. I am raising 1 lakh invoices per hour. Can I have daily backup system? What will be the loss if I am having daily backup system? 1 lakh invoices per hour, minimum of 12 hours work in 2 shifts or 3 shifts. Let's say 12 lakh invoices. Is it fine if I lose 12 hours data and I have to redo all these invoices? I have to redo all this content again. It is not possible, right? So in such scenario, my RPO should be much lesser. It should be 1 minute or 2 minutes or 0 minute. Okay. So my backup frequency should be like mirroring. Every transaction, every minute something is recorded, there should be a backup that is taken immediately. So if there is any fallback also, immediately I'll be able to recover data from the last backup. Okay, that is recovery point objective. Okay, then storage. Where do you store it? So backup is also in the same server. Live data is also in the same server. Is it a good to have control? No. Surely it is not good to have control. So what you need to do? Storage of backup should be in remote location. Storage of backup should be in remote location. So this location could be like another branch, another state, house of management people, or it can be any or third party site. It could be anywhere. Okay, or cloud storage. All that could be my storage locations. Then I have to do restoration testing. So I'm going on taking backup and keeping. I am saying, no, sir, no incident so far. Nothing has happened where I had a requirement to take backup and restore. It is fine. Okay, during the audit period, there was no incident where you need to restore. It's a good, I'll say not a control. I'll say it's a good omen. But we don't know when a problem could happen, right? So it is very important that I keep restoring my backup and checking whether my backup files are working or not, because it should not be like suddenly one day all things went down and you are identifying, okay, that your backup is also not available. You are not able to restore backup. There is no, what do you say? Backup files are corrupt. All that should not be a surprise at the 11th hour. Okay. So there should be periodic testing of the backup files that we are taking. So that testing is called restoration testing. That should be, let's say, once in a quarter or once in half year, once in a year. That restoration testing should happen where we are evaluating the backup files. Okay, next, restricted access. So from the backup, it should not be like your competitors stealing data and took all your information, imported competition, pricing information, employee information. So all the backup should be stored in a very secure location, and the location of the backup file should be with very, very, very minimum stuff. Okay, because it is going to be like the entire data, whatever you have saved. Okay, entire data which you have saved based on so many controls. Okay, all the controls we saw so far: incident management, change management, security management, then user access management, password management. All this you have put in, okay, for entering those transactions, and you are creating a backup file, okay, for that data from the back end. should not be so easily available for that data on the back end and use it, right? So it is very, 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 very important part that my backup location is very secret and it is with very, very few people. Okay. So this is very, very important. Again, I am going very slow on all the controls related to backup because this is applicable again for all the companies, irrespective of whether they are only Tally client, only Zoho client, only SAP client, whatever they may be. It's a bank, it's IRDA, I regulated insurance company, insurance broker, whoever it is, this 5 controls very, 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 very critical for their business continuity also, for regulatory reporting also, and moreover, going concern we are signing, right? Going concern is a accounting convention, I mean to say implied control which we are signing our balance sheet basis. So that will go off if backups are not in a restorable format. Okay, so it is very, very important. So generally, apart from backup, there is something called as business continuity plan. Basically, you will do risk assessment for all the things. So now backup and all, we are talking from a data perspective, right? BCP will be from overall perspective. So what all risks could happen if there is a fire, what I should do? If there is a flood, what should I do? Okay. If there is a third party application and the third party application fails, what is my alternate thing? Do I have alternate vendor supplying the same product? Okay. What type of business continuity my third party vendor is having? Like that, I will do risk assessment for different risks or different types of disaster that could happen and how I'm going to plan survival of that particular disaster. That is done in BCP, and DR is response plan. So once, see, I am planning everything, I am doing some corrective preventive action, but one fine day the bomb blasts. How I'm going to restore my business? What should be my emergency steps? That is, who should call the police, who should call the fire department, how the people should be evacuated. Basically, this DR is, if you have been in any building where they have done this disaster recovery drill or fire drill, okay, the fire drill is part of the disaster recovery plan only. So at the onset of a disaster, what are the subsequent steps, how each one should react? They should be aware of that so that we are able to minimize the loss at the time of disaster. So these two are also critical part, but backup is the most critical part. Okay, because it being a regulatory requirement also. Okay, so I think we have completed all the major areas of IT general controls. Any questions so far? I think I have spoken for last 2.5 hours. Any questions? Any clarifications required? I hope all of you are listening. I hope you are finding it useful. Okay, thank you, Natajan sir, for acknowledging. Thank you, Shraddha. Yeah, thanks, Kadir and sir. Okay, thank you. So we'll continue. So next I'm going to, yeah, this also for information I'm including. So database is also an important thing we need to do. Sorry, I missed that I put this slide in, but it's a very important slide. So we'll cover this, then close IT general controls. We need to know database architecture. Okay. So what we'll do is we went into what is called this production environment. Thank you, Magish sir. Thank you, Venkatraman sir. Yeah, we'll go to our first slide where I deleted that, is it? Okay. Sorry, okay. I will just draw in this slide because this has more place to draw. Now we'll go to a word. Okay. Okay. I hope it is audible. Yeah. So now if you see, I was explaining, like, let's say this is the application. The application is going to have, okay, let's call this black box as application. I have one more box, and this is going to be the admin layer of the application. Okay. where they are going to do all configuration changes. Configuration, they will do here. This is the so in this color. So I'm also showing you as a cylinder shape. So what happens? Every entry you make here, okay, every entry you make here will create one record in the database. Okay, every entry an application user makes in the application will create a corresponding record in the database. Now you are having users to the application, right? You are having some users to the application. So similarly, you will be having users to the, let's say these are the users. You will be users to the application. Similarly, you will be having users to the database also. So now this database users will come or will be classified privileged users whom we mentioned. So these will be my normal users. Okay, the people in the application screen will be my normal users where they are having access only to make data entry. Okay, where they are having access only to make data entry. But my database users will be the privileged users who are having access directly to the data which is generated and saved. Okay, so now it is quite possible at the database layer, these people go and do some malicious activity to change the data which was generated in the front end. Let's say in front end, you have generated a record for 1 lakh rupees. Okay, it is quite possible for this privileged user to go inside and make that 1 lakh into 1 crore. Okay, so here I have all maker checker, I have maker approver, 3-layer approval, 5-layer approval, all that is there. But in the back end, I don't have all the controls. Then it is quite possible that I will be surely questioning the integrity of the data generated. Okay, so in that context, it is very, very essential that we understand how database works. So database is also an application. Okay, in the application, we are having this will be the database. Okay, this is the internal level. So for the database also, we'll be having someone called as a database administrator. Basically, database also will be having some configuration place, like how application is having configuration place. Similarly, database also will have a configuration place where I can decide who is the user, what level of rights will be there with that particular user. Let's say 5 people are having access to database or 2 people are having access to database. What level of rights they having? Are they having rights only to take backup? Are they having rights to change records? All that I can review based on this configuration module of the database. Okay, so database administration will happen. After that, it will go and connect to the particular application program. Okay, then the through application program, induced database should have a very first shield disabling any back entry to be made inside the database. It should come only through the users. It should not come directly in the database level. Okay, so that controls we have to include. Okay, not restricting to firewall, antivirus or application controls. We need to also check controls over database. So inside that database, we'll be having like this different tables. Each table will be related to something. Okay, how each one is connecting. So all that is also very, very important part where we have to evaluate for a database. So like this, you can write query. This is select query to write report. Okay, but I'm just showing you the screen. The inside database also, person will be able to log in. They can select some data and replace some data with something else. So it is possible through code they can change the data inside the database. This is not exactly a code for changing the database, but I'm just showing you an interface how the query will be executed, and it is possible to change the data. Okay, so there critical data we have to check for the controls. Mainly we need to check in the database excessive access control, whether all the critical data are saved separately in isolation with no direct person having access to that data. and what all critical information has stayed unencrypted. Like for example, if you're storing Aadhaar data, it is mandatory you have to encrypt and store in the database. If you are storing any bank information, it is important that you encrypt and store. Okay. Similarly, for passwords also, you need to encrypt and store. So all these are critical controls at database level we need to evaluate. Okay. So I'll quickly complete audit trail, and then we'll surely touch upon some automation areas also, sir. Okay. So audit trail requirement, I think all of you would have already read the application or read the notification. So what they are telling from 2023, okay, 1st April 2023, you need to use only an accounting software for maintaining books of accounts, which is having record of audit trail for each and every transaction, creating edit log for each transaction made. So it should have audit trail, it should have edit log, okay, and it should be for throughout the year. It should not be tampered with. These are all some important terms that the notification is bearing. So now what are the reporting requirements for that and how we can audit that? Okay. So first thing what we need to do is, it's not only for accounting software. Though they are mentioning accounting software, they are mentioning for maintaining books of accounts, right? So books of accounts, what they are telling in the definition, all sums of money received and expended by a company in matters relation to which receipts or expenditure has taken place. That is any point where there is a financial trigger. Okay. Financial trigger won't come when you pay in or pay out. It will come when you are recording a liability or a income. So at PO level, purchase invoice level itself, there is a income or a expense booked for which actually pay in or pay out happens, right? So it includes all purchase and sale of goods or service transaction. It includes assets and liability. It includes any items of cost described under section 148. Okay. So now books of accounts is covering almost all areas and not just journal entries passed. Okay. Asset liability, purchase sale, and income expenses. So what happens is, you will have to not just audit ERPs like Tally, SAP, etc. You have to evaluate payroll, tax complaints related payouts, okay, revenue related, fixed asset registers, project management tools, vendor management tools, okay, whether it should be hosted in India, in cloud, inside Excel sheet, whatever you are, whatever you are hosting it under, you need to evaluate. So now institute has come up with a guidance note under this regulation, where they have given us some reporting obligations also, and some controls which we need to evaluate also. So we'll try to quickly go through that. So accounting software definition is a computer program or system that enables recording, maintenance, and reporting. So recording also is there, maintenance, reporting also is there. So in reporting, what you are including, no? So in this part only, Excel sheets are also getting covered. If we read fully, because we are not directly taking P&L and balance sheet from software, you are having some Excel sheets, you are having some third-party systems. So if you take again larger organizations, you are having balance sheet tools, where actually tools are used for preparation of balance sheet. So that tool should have audit trail. If you're using Excel sheets, that tool there also for adjustment entries, who did what, I'm just suggesting, it's better we go for Office 365 or Google Sheets, where you have trail of all the transactions, what has happened in that Google Sheet or in the Microsoft Sheet. Because otherwise it's very, very difficult to maintain audit trail in all the multiple versions of files that we maintain in the normal Excel. Okay. So they are telling if it is in on-prem or cloud or software as a service product, then also we have to evaluate the audit trail maintained in the system. Okay. So the definition of accounting software and the definition of books of accounts is very wide, where it is not restricting to just the Tally, but all the inputs that are coming to Tally, all the outputs that are going from Tally till the reporting of financial statements is happening. Okay. So now, whether who all should follow this? So since it's coming under Companies Act, very good exception, LLP, partnership firm, sole proprietor firms don't require to maintain audit trail. So Foreign company, our normal definition under registration of foreign company rules, all the accounts and audit rules made under the Act mutandis apply to a foreign company. So because of this, it is applicable even to a foreign company. It is applicable both on standalone financial statements and consolidated financial statements. So in this reporting fact of books of accounts, this line they are taking very seriously, and they're mentioning that we need to maintain both for standalone and consolidated financial statements. Audit trail is mandatory. So now this is for next year balance sheet. Okay, for current year balance sheet, it's not there. So if you see next 1 minute, I will just, since we are covering that. So now if you see this audit trail requirement, the reporting requirement section, whatever is talking about, they are talking about audit report is triggered for financial year commencing from 1st April 2022. So current year balance sheet, what we are doing, okay, we need to say that as proviso for this particular rule is applicable only from 1st April 2023. Reporting under this clause is not applicable. Okay, because in the accounts rule, they have made the modification to make it applicable only from 1st April 2023. Okay, but in our reporting requirement, they have not modified that. It is still in 1st April 2022. So current year financial statements, we need to mention that it is not applicable, and we should not ignore this reporting requirement, because as per our audit report requirement, we have that applicable from 1st April 2022. Okay. So next we are going to one more amendment that had come in with effect from 11th August 2022, which is relating to maintenance of backup. This is also an amendment in relation to Rule 3 and different sub-rule relating to maintenance of systems for storage, retrieval, display of printout of electronic records as the audit committee, if any other board of directors may deem appropriate, and such records should not be disposed or rendered unusable. So basically in this amendment, what they are trying to tell is already maintenance of backup was covered, okay, in the act itself, where they are telling books should be, it can be maintained in digital form, it should be in a place in India. So all that rules were already there. So now what is the major requirement is this maintenance of backups should also be in India. It's not sufficient if only your server is in India. It is important that backup is also in India, and it is done on a daily basis. So previously it was on a periodic basis. Okay. So let's say you are a software company where you are raising invoice only monthly. Okay. I'm just telling where the transaction is low. In trading, manufacturing, and all, daily transaction will be there. So daily backup is easily implementable. But let's say companies where they may be taking monthly backup, half yearly backup, yearly backup also. Now regulatorily, even though you are not creating any transaction on a daily basis, you need to maintain backup on a daily basis, and it is a responsibility of auditor to ensure that these things are maintained and report if it is not maintained. So maintenance of backup is also a very, very critical rule. So then in rule 3 sub rule 6, I think there are some reporting requirements to ROC also at the time of filing of financial statement, where we need to give where the file is maintained, where the backup is maintained, what is the IP of the service provider, okay, location of the service provider. So all this extra disclosure requirements also have come up. Okay. So basically what all are auditors' responsibility for this feature of audit trail? We need to comment whether audit trail feature is first available inside the application. Okay. And whether it is configurable. So I mentioned, right, configurable means in the admin module, I can enable, disable, modify it, on, off. So we have to check whether it is configurable. So if there is a option to disable, okay, then we have to go and check how many times it was enabled or how many times it was disabled. Okay, then I have to report specifically on that, how many times it was enabled, how many times it was disabled. Okay, next, all the modules or all the screens covered for audit trail, that I need to specifically report, not just specific software, specific thing alone it's there. I should not be like that. I have to take all the transactions and check adequacy of audit trail. Wherever it is not, I need to report on that. Okay. Then audit trail also should be preserved for minimum of 8 years. Okay, as per statutory requirement. So all these things I need to evaluate. So being current year, it will be 1 year only, but yes, they are requiring to ensure that as a policy, you need to start archiving your audit trail and ensuring that it is maintained for full 6 or 8 years. Okay. So though it is management responsibility to implement all this, it is auditor's responsibility to audit this and report on audit trail implementation. Okay. So now from 1st April 2023 itself, this should have been implemented. But yes, some companies have taken up very seriously and have implemented, but many of them are still struggling. They are having multiple systems. Okay, single system, one application company and all, they are able to manage, but still when there are multiple, there are some inbuilt system limitations, etc. and all those things and all. Actually, we need to be very clear when we are qualifying these points in our audit report. Okay, so one more important requirement of audit trail is you should not go and modify the audit trail. That is also there. Who is having access to audit trail? Whether someone can go and edit the audit trail. Okay, so that aspect also we need to cover in the report. Okay, so basically, though the management is going to take primary responsibility, auditor should ensure that we identify records and transactions that constitutes books of accounts, and we need to have separate documentation to actually include certain things and exclude certain things from books of accounts. This is a separate activity we need to do. This is a definition which was there already, but now since based on this definition, we are going to derive which all applications require audit trail to be implemented. This separate documentation we need to do. So we need to identify software's IT environment, including application, web application, databases, interfaces, data warehouse, data lake. These are not my words. Okay, I'm taking some FAQs and institute guidance note, etc. Okay, where all this also are required to be identified wherever data is stored, created, modified, used for reporting. All places we need to ensure that audit trail is implemented. Okay, so it is very, very important that we include this test procedures in our current year audit and report, and ensure that implementation of this is done mainly in respect of these 4 areas. Whether it is possible to disable, if it is possible to disable, what all are controls there to ensure that it is enabled, disabled, or I mean say it's first of all qualification if they are disabling itself, but yeah, at the time of disabling, what all transactions they have done, that you have to verify whether there's any fraudulent transaction, any window dressing transaction that has happened. Then what all transactions are recorded in the software, all the transactions recorded should be covered in the audit trail, not just journal entry. All voucher types, all category of entries should be covered. Then it should be preserved as per statutory requirement. Okay, so with this I'm completing my audit trail area, which was a very quick overview of the audit trail requirement. So any questions so far? Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So Mahesh sir has asked some of the automation in a whole audit process review for IFC. So see, yeah, audit trail related weakness is surely qualified opinion, sir. Not just weakness. Any part of application not covered for audit trail is a qualification. Any disabling is a qualification. It's a mandatory requirement that auditor needs to comment. Actually, that guidance note on 11G is there in institute portal. If you read that, they have given like one full page for audit report alone. Like a report template, they have given what all points we need to comment on. So it's a very comprehensive and a very detailed template. So nearly it's covering minimum of 1 page content only to report without qualifications. If qualifications, it will actually increase. So I request you to go through that also once, all the participants. So it will give you a fair idea what all areas we need to report. So I'll go back. Any other questions in auditory? Okay. So answering Mahesh sir's question on any automation of whole audit process review for IFC. So automation is a very, very, what do you say? I'll not say it's easily possible for IFC area. So first thing is we should have fixed RCMs. We need to document test procedures so that we can standardize some inputs. So client-wise automation only is possible. Overall automation is little tough, but at least on the front where we are finalizing what all risks to be tested, we can do some level of automation. Like I have mentioned earlier in my previous sessions also, we tried to develop something called as a knowledge bank where we listed for all the common processes what all risks could happen. Like if the company is having labor, what type of risk will happen? If the company is having employees, what type of risk will happen? If the procurement within for raw material, which is bulk procurement, what will happen? Retail procurement, what will happen? So like that, we try to create a risk register which is very comprehensive, so that the team can read through the risk register first before they go in for some process study or building of RCMs. And this risk can be taken and duplicated, okay, for whatever RCM you are doing. So this was one level of automation to ensure that audit risk is minimized. We are covering maximum risks. But exactly for RCM testing, there are some GRC tools available where you can automate the process flow, testing process and all. But on an IFC perspective, it's not full-fledged automation, but yes, you can surely fix some templates, redo. More repeatability will be there when we are using Excel, Power Query, Power BI for the second time or subsequent time for the same client. But otherwise, actually, automation is actually, to my knowledge, it is little limited. We haven't done any major automation of activity in RCM testing for IFC. And IT, how we have done is, as I mentioned, two parts of audit we were mentioning, right? That is, one is operational effectiveness testing. Second is design level testing. So in design level testing, surely automation is not possible. We need to go into a respective application configuration, sit with the IT team, understand what type of configurations they have done, what type of rules they have built. Okay. And we take some screenshot of that rule with the IT team to as a audit proof. And then we document that as a test procedure. When we want to do the same thing for OE testing for the same aspect, what we do is we do some samples from outside. Now let's say maker checker. Okay. So there I will go and check the rules, where role is assigned for maker, where the role is assigned for checker. Like that, we will do one level of configuration rules. Then we'll take the full data dump, okay, for the period and check in Power BI or Power Query, where all, apart from the roles that are defined in the configuration, exceptions have happened. So analytical, there is lot of scope on analytical procedures, but automation, yes, normal audit tests, journal entry testing, audit analytics, exception reporting, there and all automation is possible, but not very specific to RCM testing and ITGC. I have not ventured much, sir. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah. So if no other question, I'll just explain DLP. I mentioned I will touch upon data leak prevention also, right? So data leak prevention is also another category of tool only. So what that tool will do is that will actually monitor all the texts that we are communicating. Okay. So what it will do is it will, let's say you are going to write a mail, and in that mail you are mentioning, let's say 10 Aadhaar number. Aadhaar is a confidential data, right? So you don't want someone to send Aadhaar number to another person or another domain. Okay, what you will do is you will write it as a rule in your DLP. These are the keywords like that. You will define what all are confidential keywords, what all are risky keywords, what all comes under data privacy. Like that, you have to build rules in data leak prevention tool, DLP tool. And that DLP will sit on your applications and monitor all the data that is moving. Let's say you're copying data to your pen drive, you are sending mail, you are sending an attachment, you are sending a file which contains confidential information. It will read everything and it will block. You can do two things. You can block someone from sending such mails. Next is you can also create a red flag where the mail will be sent, okay, but there will be someone who is actually getting an alert that someone has sent this mail to someone, like that. So that is also very important. Why I told that is very important is now we have all these listed companies have something called as insider trading, undisclosed price sensitive information. If I'm if I'm right, I think it's right. Undisclosed price sensitive information. Yes, that is before you publish the financial statements, whatever financial result auditors are dealing with or companies dealing with is very, very critical information. If someone has misused that information or someone has leaked that information, then it is actually amounting to huge penalties, right? So without having a proper mail encryption or data encryption for unpublished financial statements or having a DLP tool, actually there's a huge risk for coming under the SEBI regulation. So apart from that, GDPR complaints, ISO complaints also requires data safety, data privacy, all that. But additionally, the SEBI requirement is having huge penalty than any other regulation. So DLP is also a very, very important tool. So actually even our Gmail, Microsoft Mail, Office 365 Mail also in some version and above, I think E4 and above or something, they have DLP inbuilt. We have to configure it. Otherwise, we need to buy and install. So these are some important tools which we need to know when we are auditing clients with critical data to evaluate. So when we spoke about backup also, it's not just for the application backup or the data backup. It will include mail backups also, because many organizations will not have all approvals configured in mail. All approvals configured in application. So they may be having mail approvals, mail communications, mail sign-offs. So mail backups also need to be tested when we are auditing backups. Okay. So with this, I think some question. Edit log for each change should be viewed through change management process. Review mapping needs to be done. Yes, sir. For all changes, I think your question is relating to audit trail. So edit log for each change should be reviewed through change management process. Exactly. So again, this change management process in large organization, they are taking it through PIM PAM tool. So every time there is some change, let's say of an NPA data, there is a MOC that is getting passed, because of which you need to pass an entry, you need to change the provision amount. All this you need to go through change management. So now they are extending whatever we used to do for banks and insurance companies to normal private limited companies also. So yes, the review mapping should be done for all the gaps, and not just we need to do sampling. We need to evaluate what is the impact of that change of audit trail or entry in the financial statements. So yeah, for log management, lot of tools are available depending on whatever software we are using. See, we can configure easily for Tally in Power Query, Power BI itself, or Excel itself. Excel macro is more than enough. But if the company is having PIM actually a lot of tools are there. Arcos is a very prominent tool for privileged identity management. So generally, whenever you are going to change audit trail or change something, modify an entry from backend and all, they go through this PIM tool. So PIM tool will have exception report by itself. Like in firewall, if you want to audit, firewall will throw the exception report. You need not go and write a tool on top of firewall to take the exceptions out. Similarly, all audit log tools will have exception reports. I think even Tally exchange report is coming separately, which all are modified. You can filter out separately instead of seeing all the logs. So mostly all this edit log reports are having inbuilt thing where you can filter only the things that are changed. But it's a bespoke system. You are not having exception report inbuilt. Then you can build something using some macro or Power BI itself. So Power BI and Excel macros is a decent tool for an auditor to do. Otherwise, we can do in SQL or any other access other database also. But when it changed or modified, I think we should avoid sampling and go for all the transaction which is having the exception. Yes, exactly, Jatin. But sir, what you are telling is very correct. I'll not say only for DLP, for the entire IT security. I have seen a lot of clients having BCP, backup policy, everything nicely written policy. They will not have any relevance or attachment for implementation. Highest irony, yesterday one client call, it's a very, 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 very prominent vendor, okay, prominent vendor, cloud service provider for this cloud accounting package and cloud security and all. So he is telling me there is a requirement to do a information security audit, okay, by a certain empaneled auditor, okay. He's telling, no, ma'am, we have all the policies in place. I am just asking you for this documentation audit. I'm telling it's a information security audit, not a documentation audit. He's telling, no, ma'am, all audits are only documentation based. I'm like, I'm not even able to convince him that the audit is not based on checking documents, whether it is there or not. It's based on the control that you have implemented. He's like, that is different, ma'am. This is different. He's trying to explain me. It was like, it is very, very, very difficult. So that's why the first part, ELC of IT is very important. You need to have one director at least who's heading the IT steering committee, where there is a CISO, CTO, where you are having direction to where you want to take your IT systems, IT controls to. So it's very, very important. Even DLP, almost all audits, I'll have that exception. I would say report point where they will have red flag. Okay, there will be thousands of red flags coming every day. Okay, no one will even go through the red flags that are thrown. See, then it's not a red flag. There is 1,000 red flags that are coming daily and it's not impacting anything, or no one is looking at it. Then it's not a red flag itself. So you need to revalidate, put some efforts in building correct rules where you are getting only the correct exceptions. So yes, it's a very, very important thing, and auditors are the most affected people because of organization not taking control seriously. It's a very huge risk. Thank you, Joe sir. Thank you, everyone. Any other questions? Okay. Another problem is IT or IT security team reporting to CFO or other CXO apart from CEO, which may be violation of IT controls. Yes, surely IT security team should not report to CFO. It's not proper segregation of duty. IT team is an independent function. They have to report to the CEO or the those charged with governance directly, or audit committee also they can report, shouldn't be a problem, but surely not CFO. So you can surely raise that with the audit committee or the board of directors. IT security team is a very independent function. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for the feedback. Any other questions? Are we have to comply any control framework? Sir, as a chartered accountant, you are asking, sir. As a CA, we have to follow COSO and COBIT is our best practice framework, sir. COSO for all the process related controls, COBIT for all IT related controls. So these two are more than sufficient for us to comply with. And as a client, they have to have SOC they can get for us. They can get ISO 27001. For us, we can have to follow COBIT and COSO. COBIT is also a very good framework, mainly relating to IT controls. We can use COBIT parameters. I think institute can clarify. Generally, all institute sessions are recorded and it is uploaded within, I think, 2 days or something. I think you will be able to get the recorded sessions. You can check with SIRC, sirc.cpe. There's one email ID. No, you can check with them. They will update you once it's uploaded. Yes. Any other question? Thank you everyone for staying till the end. I was like little skeptical having 3-hour sessions in a webinar mode, in that also one-way communication mode, but more than 90% of you have stayed till the end. It's very, very happy and very contenting to see that. Thank you very much for staying till the end. Yeah, thank you, Mahesh sir. Thank you very much for your constant encouragement and all the real thought-provoking questions. I don't know whether I answered everything correctly, but still, whatever I had experience with. Yes. Yeah, I think SARC, anyone is there for closing the session, or can I?
Yes, ma'am. Shall we close, ma'am?
Yes, I think we can close.
Before that, ma'am, I'd like to propose a hearty word of thanks to our CAS Deepika ma'am for making excellent presentation and making this session interesting and meaningful. And I thank you for accepting our invitation for today's session, ma'am. And thank you all the participants who all participated in this session. And ma'am, kindly share this PPT to us so that we will circulate
Sure.
this to all the participants.
I'll send it to you right away, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.